April 10th, 2020, 2026. Hope you're having a good day. We are doing our pro science anti-MAHA panel. I think they kind of like go coincide. Uh, so,
I hope so.
yeah, exactly. So, just the weekly wrap up, science news, MAHA, what the insanity is that they're pushing, how we're trying to stop it, and yeah. So have an informed discussion about the news with experts too. I think that the cool thing about uh, this show is that compared to like what I'm normally doing, with our TikTok shows, we're trying to really bring on like experts and people that with knowledge in their fields. So if anyone ever wants to be a guest on anything that's related to what we're talking about, if we could set up, if you want to be a guest, then the invite is open. So you're more than welcome to come on. So awesome. Okay, well, let's get into it. All right. The first thing I kind of
check your DM, Corey.
Roger, I got it. The first thing, which is I think kind of a funny, it's kind of funny, it's kind of sad, it's kind of weird. But guys, they're coming into our world. The RFK is a podcaster now. He's a content creator. He's trying to come into this content creation space, and I'm just just curious about your thoughts straight away.
I mean, like I know he had a past in radio, but like, ugh. I'm sorry, the voice. I'm sorry, I'm gonna say. I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'll be the mean one here, right? The voice. Why would you want to listen to that? Oh my god, right? Like that was like separate from his politics, him being defeated in the presidential primary handily, right? Saved us from the voice. Imagine if everything was happening that was happening now, like it's the same timeline, but you replace Donald Trump with like RFK Jr. and you had to like sit through it all. Imagine him giving a State of the Union. Oh my god.
Yeah.
This is awful. I'm sorry. It's awful. Like I get like he's suffering from like the effects of a disease.
Yeah.
Like there's like a reason why his voice is the way it is. But no way. And to like I don't know, Maha does it. Maha likes it. He is a dear leader to them. So okay. So it was, I don't know if there's not an audience for them. I think he'll probably do pretty well, in the space. Once again, he was in the radio space previously. He was there for quite a bit actually. And he's got a name, he's got a platform already, right? And so like I think I mean, assuming like it's not like utterly boring, right? Assuming he, remembers how to keep people engaged, right? I don't imagine he'll like fall flat in his face or anything. It's just it'll be effing torture listening to it. So
I can pretty much
agree.
echo all the same sentiments. Although, yeah, I'm curious because actually I didn't because I believe there was like a video announcing his podcast and him announcing his podcast. I didn't actually watch it. Maybe I should have. But from what I understand of the little glimpse that I got, it's like the overall approach to the podcast is bring on what he views as the experts or people that are that are whatever counter to the mainstream or actual accepted science.
Exactly.
But then I'm just curious, like, well, how long can that actually last? I don't know, but like I'm curious. I think at some point you will probably like you're just gonna start reaching more and more into like the fringe. That's just gonna get like pretty crazy.
Why would that be a problem for RFK?
Yeah, that's totally fair. But that's totally fair.
Got like they got like a bunch of like Maha and either directly Maha content creators or like people within like this general space, grifter space, right? And they never run out of content. You can always find more people who want to sell a product, right, that means nothing, is nothing, and might get you sick. And like if you'll give them the space, sure. And then beyond that, like there is like a need for Maha because like it's cultish, right? Just like MAGA.
Exactly.
Like there's a need for reinforcement, right? Like I need to like receive the tenets of
This
my
is it.
faith, right? And so this is a great place to do it, where I get it from the source.
Yeah,
This
no,
is
that's totally fair.
100% it for me. Yeah, that I think that this is why it's, especially in an election year, that this is basically a propaganda channel. It's a state-sponsored propaganda where they can set the tone, where they can, because there's such a bad outbreak happening. There's disease spreading everywhere. This is like unprecedented levels of like tuberculosis, whooping cough, everything, and instead of actually dealing with health, instead of actually dealing with these issues, what do? They start a podcast so that they can, they can say that they're doing these things when they're all they've done is endanger people, endanger public health.
And if, well, not if, since he's entering the podcast space, well, obviously there's many people in this space, but there are also big names in the space that are actually like against RFK Jr. Of like Dr. Mike, I believe, has explicitly called out RFK Jr. like multiple times, and it's like, again, in my mind, if he's entering the space, but he's never in, like, I know how they work. They're always going to be like in their echo chamber, but like. I'm pretty sure Dr. Mike would actually have RFK Jr. like on his channel. Who would want, like, I'm pretty sure Dr. Mike made it clear like he would want to debate someone like RFK Jr. But the fact that obviously RFK would never go on Dr. Mike's podcast because he knows that he can't actually back up anything that he says. But then if he's actually entering the space and it's like, pretty much we're just recreating like the echo chamber of like you have RFK here and he has like his whatever audience that they may be, and then Dr. Mike, and Dr. Mike is consistently calling out, and I think has explicitly called like RFK Jr. should step down. And it's like,
Yeah.
you're never going to confront the person like that's actually calling an actual health professional that's like calling for you to step down, and you're just going to stay here. Like, I don't know how anybody can take that seriously. Obviously, I know that there are people that they do, but it's like, it's difficult for me to process of like, there's someone who's going to attempt to amass this following that has this following like in the podcast space, and you have like an already really well established, Dr. Mike think has like whatever 10, 20 million followers on YouTube,
something like that,
and like a massive
insane
following, and to his credit, he's like consistently calling out RFK, and it's like, you're never going to interact with this person. Like, how does that, obviously MAHA and MAGA don't care, but like, to me, that would just be such a huge optical like loss, but I know it's not going to count for anything.
Yeah, exactly. They don't care about it's specifically to create a narrative. 1 second.
Yeah, sure. Take your time. Yeah, I think. Yeah. So what he was saying in terms of state sponsored, I don't know if it's necessarily like money from the state. But the point is that like, yeah, you will be getting the party line on these outbreaks, on COVID, on and all that. Like, this will be the way that like people receive the mess. Like, it's the way to soothe the public. But even then, like, it's not even all that helpful in this, right? Like, the people who are going to be listening to RFK Jr.'s podcast are the people who agree with RFK, right? Like, it'd be one thing if this was like on CBS, and maybe CBS will pick it up because CBS
Oh
is
God,
now
you're right. Oh my God,
yeah,
you're right. Oh no.
Assuming that doesn't happen, if hopefully, but assuming that doesn't happen, like the audience is actually quite insular, right? But the audience is profitable because they're extremely gullible and they're like are willing to hand over the money for like whatever, right? So there's that. But in terms of actually like changing the changing the landscape, I don't know. The only other thing I can think of is just like, okay, even if like CBS doesn't like necessarily pick it up and like run with it, like his proclamations might make it out into like the broader mainstream media any which way. right? Like if we're getting him a chance to sit down, it could be that mainstream media takes a chance to like debunk them, right? That might be a thing, right?
Mhm.
And that's how it gets out. Or it's just that like, hey, he said a thing, and because he has power, we're going to repeat it, right? Like for everyone else to know, and then we're essentially doing free advertise from. I actually really don't know which way it's going to go. Yeah.
I hope it just provides more content for Dr. Mike. I hope like each episode, like Dr. Mike just responds like over and over. Uh, but then it's like, yeah, very bizarre situation. How we're gonna have, well, this is how it works. We're gonna have these two giant podcasters that just like never interact with each other, and like also, like this overlaps in my mind with someone like Joe Rogan. It's like
Mhm.
I can only imagine whoever appears on Joe Rogan, whatever health professional, is just gonna like go on RFK Jr.'s
Oh,
podcast.
it's a podcast cinematic universe right there.
Yeah, I know. It's like they just rotate amongst each other. At least the large podcasters, like whoever goes on Joe Rogan is going to go on like Chris Williams, and then round and round they go.
Yeah, yeah. No, but I mean, there is a circuit side. Blessing. There is a circuit. Exactly what you're saying, for grifters, right? Like Joe
Exactly.
Rogan being the nexus of that. Like that's the big time for grifters. But beyond that, yeah, there's a circuit, like a diary for of a CEO.
Yeah, that
You
too.
ever heard that one?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
grifter
Mhm.
podcast. And just like just name of I don't watch them, but I know they exist, right? There's a whole list of these things, and then each of them actually has their own podcast that they run, right? Like their own separate podcast. And sometimes they do a thing which is hilarious, where they like interview themselves. You guys aware of this?
I'm not
Um,
sure I've seen that.
it's a thing,
Oh,
right?
they go back
So
and forth on the podcast.
yeah, they do a back and forth basically with
Okay.
themselves. You know how like what they do is they take those oblique angles, right? You know how like when doing interview, there's like an angle from the side, right, and then you're staring off to the in a different direction, looking like you're looking at someone, right? And it's supposed to be like implying an A-B shot, right? Like
Mhm.
interviewer and then the interviewee, right? Sometimes what they'll do is they'll just like take clips of the one shot, right, and them talking as if they're talking to someone else, and then put that all over the internet, right? And so it looks like, oh, they're being interviewed, right? This person is important enough to be interviewed. Literally,
Mhm.
they're just talking to themselves, right? And they put out the clips, because you won't be able to figure that out. So
That's like the most narcissistic approach to like marketing that I can imagine. Just
it's 100%.
Yeah, it's weird,
Yeah.
man. I mean, there's so many. It's not just. I mean, I think this is the first like official department-wide like government state run like podcasts. But I think, I mean, senators have one, like Ted Cruz. He has his own podcast right now. It seems to just be kind of like a show. Like you just basically you just create clips. It creates a lot of donor material. They use it for clips in order to like make money off of and fundraise off of. They can push narratives around it, especially when they're trying to craft a narrative around like January 6th. It was really popular to like push that stuff. What's going on, what's so yeah. It is crazy to me, but this is just it. At least this one feels different because it's like it's from it's just him as an individual, but it does feel like a little bit different, like state sponsored propaganda a little
it
bit. I
definitely
don't know. It
feels
just feels,
different
yeah,
for sure.
especially when they're doing so poorly. Like they're really trying to craft a narrative here. They have to. Yeah, Helen, that's what we're talking about right now. And it just feels really. I don't know. I mean, FDR had like fireside chats. Like, would we be opposed to like the president having like a weekly podcast kind of thing?
Eh,
I'd be more in line with like a weekly town hall where he's actually engaging like with the public as opposed to
Mm,
just like because as of now, Trump already has his pot. He just speaks to the camera and like
yeah,
that's it.
yeah.
And like
yeah.
he's just gonna and he dismisses like any reporter that challenges him, or he just like starts calling them names, especially if it's a woman reporter. But like if he actually has to engage like with a crowd that disagrees with him, like I'd be interested in that. Obviously, I know that will never happen, but that's ideally what I would want.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, Obama was trying to do something like this. Not sure if you guys remember that, but Obama, it was putting out. I'm not sure if they were weekly addresses, but he was like putting out addresses at first, and people were interested, but then they clearly, then they stopped being as interesting. Um, so I mean, I like the idea of more communication from the executive than less communication, right? Like understanding what, but like the thing is, like they weren't, especially if I'm
Well,
remembering
technically,
correctly.
Trump is like communicating all the time. It's just like
Yeah, this
lies,
is
Yeah,
like I don't know.
he is the most the he's talked to the press and had more recorded talks of than any other president ever.
But it's
yeah,
just garbage. Like I don't know that like I don't know that
exactly.
more.
So what I was just about to say though is that like it depends on if we're talking about specifically the platform, it depends on like what they're going to do with it. Like if they're not going to actually make news with it, right? If it's just like him BSing, then like it's there's no value, right? And that's what most of what Trump does, and honestly, right? But if uh, but like on like for instance his Truth Social, like he makes news and so it has to be reported on. Truth Social is actually quite interesting because it seems like half of the people on that platform are just reporters like there to like wait for his posts and then like put that on Twitter for everyone else who doesn't have an
Mhm.
account, right? And then from there it's blasted by like other media platforms. So like that's what mostly it is because like regular people don't want to interact with it unless you're like a MAGA cultist. Like those MAGA cultists and reporters, only people that are on that platform. Anyway, the point is that like if like uh Trump, not Trump, the next AOC, right? Of AOC, President AOC, she had some sort of podcast type thing. I'd be in support of it
Mhm.
if she's actually going to use it for something, right? Like I don't need to like check in with her like to see how she's doing. Like the point of the communication is to like give me something that I can use for daily life or like or to understand where the country is going or something like that, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would see her doing that. She does a lot of like just like Instagram, just like boom, just talking to the camera and reading chat. Like it's very informal, very like if something crazy is happening, like a government shutdown, she's like doing some like this is what's going on, this is where I'm seeing. I don't know. I mean, it's yeah. I don't know. It's it feels so weird to just have our politicians be content creators though. Like, you know, it just doesn't feel like that's their job. And I don't know. It's I can understand like having a more of like reserved president that isn't like that when they speak, it's like an address and like we're having something um said that's of importance. The words matter, and I do feel like kind of like dilution just kind of happens over time. But I don't know. Maybe that's just a dead world. You know what I mean? Maybe that just like doesn't
Mm.
exist anymore. And now everyone is really just in this kind of like content world, and that's what they expect. They expect the president to just constantly be on the camera, to constantly like making shorts. I don't know.
as of now, I lean towards like I think it'd probably be well, to your point, I think it'd probably be more effective of like because like as of now, like pretty much Trump gets more or less like if he wants like 24/7 news coverage, like if
Yeah.
he wants to speak, like there's always gonna be a crowd of reporters around him, like I think it would affect him more if like I know this would never happen. If there was actually like a coordinated like for like a week or two or like a month of like a media blackout, we're just not going to cover him. No
Hmm.
news stories, no questions. But again, I know that would never happen, but I'm pretty sure that would actually, I assume, like could be wrong, that would actually like greatly. I think he obviously like likes the attention. He's just like speaking and just like spouting the garbage, okay, because it works. Uh,
Yeah.
but if he doesn't have that mouthpiece, I think that would actually like affect him.
I think he would actually factually nuke a country to get our eyes back on him. I think
Because
he
That's
would
why Truth
actually,
Social.
actually have a meltdown.
That's why
in my,
Truth Social exists, though. Like
in
this,
my
I mean,
yeah,
right?
but in my mind, like there's literally no use in covering. Like I've never come away from any sort of interview from like I feel informed now, and like I now have insight
Yeah.
into what he's going to do. Like there's no point in covering
Exactly.
anything from.
I
The
disagree.
addresses are
Sorry.
awful. Yeah, go ahead.
I think we do get more like it's like nations like analyze especially a U.S. president's words, right? Like they do it for other
Mhm.
world leaders, right? Major world powers, but especially the U.S. president, they analyze that. They got people in rooms, right? Like just going over his words, like and bless their hearts. But like they like I think it's worth it to understand what the chief executive, the person in charge of the empire, right, is thinking. Even his BS, actually. Now that's not necessarily
I
useful
don't
for
think
like the
that.
average
I don't think
citizen,
his words like are
but like
connected to anything of his thought process. Sorry to interrupting, but go for it.
no, but I think they are though, right? They are like even his lies, like give us insight into his thinking, right? Even
Mm.
we know he's lying or we don't know he's lying, right? And then it's just revealed later on. All that helps us build a picture as to like what's going on behind the scenes, right? Like especially when we're talking about Trump, right? Because he's not like a good liar. He's not like he's very simplistic, right? Very simple-minded individual. Um, and so like his lies end up being obvious cover-ups for other things. So the more he talks, actually, we get a lot of information from him. It's just again not. I mean, as a political junkie, it's more useful for me, but for the average person, not so much. And then the last thing, it uh, like I do like your point, Corey, when you said like, yeah, there's the president's just he's covered in microphones, right? And any president could be if they desired it, right? The way Trump does. And so that's why I was saying like the podcast only makes sense if you're going to make news on the podcast because like if a president wants to make news, right? Step outside, right? There's a gaggle of reporters just like milling about
Anytime.
and speak, right? And
Yeah.
then done, right? But so there's like just like very little point in like going through the content creation process, right? Like I can only imagine it, and this would be weird, right? If like the president was interviewing someone else. Like, I don't know. That would be interesting. That would be
Mm.
fascinating to see that happen. But like,
Mm.
I don't know. Like, or he could like literally, like, if it's like very a lot of money put behind it, right? He could create his own like multimedia presentations. Um, for Trump, there's no need to do that because Fox News will do it for him, right? Whatever message he wants out there, they will amplify it. They'll do it in the conservative media. For a Democrat, though, that might be interesting, right? Like if you could put forth your ideas and like your way, and then just have CNN and whatever, right? Cover it, right? Like there might be some interest in that. Yeah, I mean, it depends on what they want to say. But like it would be more advanced than a press conference, right? Like it would only make sense they actually put a lot of effort into this. It's like okay, again, just for example, President AOC, she wants to do the Green New Deal. She's resurrecting it, right?
Mhm.
And rather than simply going up to the White House press room and like speaking it, she like does a whole multimedia presentation, just like we see on YouTube, right? The format that you're used to on YouTube, where like there's like screens and videos and all that, right? And stock footage and like a whole list of them, right? A whole multimedia presentation presenting it her way, right? Then I could see a use for that. So I don't know.
I take your point in that Trump's lies like can be like informative in the sense that like what he chooses to lie about gives you information. But I think like the way I analyze it, and could be wrong, it's like he's the most covered president,
Mhm.
and like that doesn't seem to hurt him in any way. It only helps him. like no matter how many lies that he tells, like the fact that we cover it like over and over, it's like, well, one, it's like difficult to keep track of, and two, like it seems like there's definitely a segment of a significant segment of the population that just like either doesn't care or is not aware of like how many lies he's telling, like per minute. That's why I lean towards of like if it's possible, which I know that it's not, like to just like not cover him, just
Yeah.
just like move on. And like if world leaders want to get insight into whatever his brain is, like, I mean, this happens all the time. Oh, like he tweets out or Truth Social something out, bashing some world leader. Then he says, oh, I had a great phone call with him, and now like we're super great friends. Never had a. It's like, so then what's the point of like?
It's important to know that he's a madman, though, right? Like, it's important to know that he's an idiot. Like, again, I appreciate that. That he is. Imagine if Trump thought. Let's take it the other way. Imagine if Trump was the same individual, simple-minded fool, right? Who was camera shy, right? Like, it's easy for us to make the case. Not that they'll necessarily want to hear it, but it's easy to make a case that Trump is a moron. Right, he proves it every day, all the time. But imagine if he was a moron that kept quiet. Well, then you can imagine a level of competence in him, right? Like that's what people did with The Apprentice, right? Because they give him a platform and they give him the appearance of competence, right? And then they transpose that onto like the voting base, transpose that onto everything else. Oh, like. Even though like the Apprentice was literally a mirage, everything about that was a mirage.
Sure.
But like they transpose that into Donald Trump, and plenty of people like, even if they don't want to even admit it, right? Even among the conservative base, they realize, oh yeah, this guy's not particularly intelligent, right? They won't tell that to a liberal because they want to screw you, liberal, right? But they get it, right? But if he didn't say anything, right? If like it was just like scripted, and he could actually keep to a script, scripted messages, then how would we know that he's an idiot? Like how could you prove that to someone, right? Sure, he can make disastrous policies, but like any president can make a disastrous policy, and if you're on his side, you're just going to cheerlead it any which way. How would we prove that? It's useful that he never shuts the hell up.
Mm-hmm. But he also never shuts the hell up, so nobody knows what he said last time, and we're just constantly just,
I mean, agreed.
I agree with you in the scenario that you outlined. That definitely has like a utility. But I think again, I'm more than happy to be wrong. It's like I think at this point, I view it as like this is diminishing returns. Like, like this is not adding anything negative towards him, and I think he as of now he's thriving on the attention. And the fact that like just whatever just one vitriolic Truth Social post and he's gonna get all the coverage and he's gonna like suck up all the attention. But if that didn't happen,
right? But like he threatened to like wipe out a civilization. He deserves the coverage. That's what he's president. Yeah, that's what it is. He deserves the coverage.
Well, I take your point, but that's where it's like I'm pretty sure if that vitriolic and awful Truth Social didn't get any coverage whatsoever, I think like you just like go crazy. And I agree with you. He might actually just
go crazy with the nuclear button. Exactly. Like I don't know. Like he needs to be covered. Like even like what you're saying.
I don't know that he needs to be covered like to keep his finger off of the nuke button. Like at the end of the day, like that's not the media's responsibility. Of like if we don't stop covering him, he's just gonna nuke a country.
No, actually, well, I think that's an unattended side benefit because like he has a tenuous grasp of reality, right? And his sanity is always up for debate. But like imagine if he was more unstable because people weren't paying attention. Would that be a better thing for the world? Right? Like actually, if this soothes him, right, like a pacifier, like constantly having his words be broadcast, well then actually I want to soothe him. Like it annoys me that he gets satisfaction in anything. He's an awful fascist and he belongs to the Hague, right? But like I don't know, man, like he's still the president. right? Like
Yeah.
we had a chance to ignore him during when he for this short stint that he was not president again, but now he's back in the office, and so yeah, we got to cover everything.
I don't know that he was
Yeah.
truly ignored when he wasn't. He was still getting with all his lawsuits and all stuff. Like even it was like in court. There was a lot of coverage of him, falling asleep.
I
And all
thought
that
we
stuff.
had a chance. We had a
But he
chance.
got, I mean, he got deplatformed by YouTube. He got banned from there, because of, because of the January 6th stuff, the incitement of violence, so that they kicked him off. So, I mean, which does feel weird. Like, imagine like a political thing where let's say AOC comes in and now she wants to break up Google or something, and now Google says, well, we're going to ban you for economic terrorism against our company, and we're going to ban you from YouTube, and we're going to you're going to mute you from the search results. I mean, I don't know, it could be it's weird that like all this social media stuff also happens on private corporate like servers. I feel like that kind of like is a weird thing, and Trump's need to like have a Truth Social, like his own thing where he's not going to get censored. I think that you would see that come about in kind of like in the same way on the Democratic side, if that was to ever happen.
So I was like, what do you mean by that? Could you explain like what would come about in the Democratic side?
There would. I mean, I feel like there should be like I said last week or the week before, like a public option for social media where people can like post things and like no anonymity, like actual, like it would be you would know it's confirmed age verification.
Why would say like the people do that? Why would people use that?
Well, it would be a way to like, make sure that basically you wouldn't be algorithmically hindered or, pushed out. I think that would be like the thing. It would be like, you wouldn't have to worry about like censorship about like certain topics. It would just be like a free speech, like an actual free speech platform. And like, for example, like vaccines and that kind of like those type of topics that people are still like erroneously worried about talking about on these platforms, like right now it kind of like shields people, like by not being able to talk about these subjects, like they're actually like kind of shielded from being held accountable. So that's what I mean, kind of.
Why again? So then why would people use it?
And also
like,
increase confidence that you're not interacting with a bot, like an actual person.
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Like that.
I think it matters.
No, I mean, why the reason people want the anonymity on both sides, right? People want the anonymity to be grifters, granted, right? People also want the anonymity to be protected, right? So that if you're talking about things that like the government doesn't like, even on the left, right? That you don't immediately face that level of backlash or consequences. There's some utility, yes, to like putting your name out there, but like it's very small. Most people are going to want to have a separation between the internet life and then their public facing life. Yeah, like just the idea that yes, we won't have to deal with bots, and even this idea of like not being algorithmically like pushed aside. Like, well, there's going to be an algorithm. There has to be an algorithm. If not, right? Like, what's not an algorithm is just like list every message as it comes in, right? And you just have to scroll down.
Chronological. It'd just be. I mean, basically, it's like an archive of press releases or something like that. If you're.
I mean, that's how Facebook used to run originally.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and when they put an algorithm behind it, then they started making money.
Yeah, because this wouldn't need to make money, right? That would be the whole idea, that this would be outside of that.
I understand that. That's fair, right? But like, to actually, the reason why they were making money is because they were serving people what they wanted, right? And now you can say what they wanted was bad, and fair enough, right? But still, there were certain people because it became useful. That feed became useful when like you could like tailor it to your experience. If you literally can't tailor it at all, and it's just like a running list, then it's less usable.
Yeah,
Uh,
this wouldn't be for user experience. This would not be for like a UI. This wouldn't be tailored for user
It would
experience
be
at all.
bad for. So you're saying that it'd be a bad user experience,
Yeah,
with
it's
no
it's
anonymity
tailored. Yeah,
that
tailored
people would.
not for advertisements, not for marketing. Just strictly like I have a press release I want to get out, and I want, as opposed to putting it on my Senate.gov website where it's just going to be a silo and it's just going to be there. I could put it like on a press release here, and it could be searchable, and all of them are here, and it's
Like Twitter
confirmed. And
already does though, right? Twitter already does that, but like it's
but
already,
the problem is you could get
okay.
deplatformed from these private companies and stuff. That'd be the
they
problem.
they
or
generally
Elon Musk can
don't
just
though.
choose to like, whatever, just
Yeah.
hide it if he wants to.
But they generally don't though, right? Like in terms of politicians, right? Politicians generally don't. And then the people who have been deplatformed, right? Like from like,
Mhm.
okay, so let's say people from the left have been deplatformed from Twitter, right? Well, they've gone to Blue Sky,
Yeah.
and where they can keep their level of anonymity, and they can make other proclamations to a much smaller audience. But um, I don't know the advantages of like I wouldn't use it. I certainly wouldn't.
I would
Use
probably use it.
that.
Like, so I agree with you that
You
there's,
don't mind having your name put forth, but like you're
yeah,
very like it's
but
quite unique.
well,
True.
but I think not that I'm anything special, but I think that, and then, like, I agree with you. There's a double-edged sword of like there's utility to like whistleblowers and all that stuff. But I think this aspect of anonymity has been taken too far, and I think it's overall now like a net negative of like. I think if you want to say like vitriolic things, or if you want to like well, attempt to grift, like your name and face like should be out there.
But they're not going to do that.
Well, then that's why like
But they'll
they,
still have. But the thing is, like the public option. What you're not saying is that
Mm.
the public option is the only option, right? You're saying there's a
Yeah.
public option along with the private option.
Yeah.
But like
You wouldn't ban
everyone's
it.
going to stay with the private option because that's where um uh uh like well everyone is already, right? So like there's the networking effects that brings unlocking. That's why Twitter still, even though it's awful, it's worse than it's ever been before, and it was always pretty bad in my opinion. The reason why it hasn't been knocked out by competitors because of networking effects. Everyone's already there, so people stay there, right?
Yeah.
But also like uh there is no like if there's no protection of anonymity for people who, or even good faith actors, like okay, for me, like I think I've made myself clear on where I stand on Palestine, right?
Mhm.
In Israel. Well, hey, there is a group, right? They're called Canary Mission. They go around and they start doxing people, and then like once they dox them, it's a pro-Israel group, and once they dox them, they try to get them fired, right? Okay, so like if I'm going to use Twitter, right, it'd be for something like that.
Mhm.
And so now I got to put my name on that when I know what's coming from me. Like, no, why would I do that?
Mhm.
Why would like political movements do that? Why would do you want children to use that? I'm guessing we won't have children on here. Okay, right? Like uh corporations might use it, but like they're just advertising, just the same advertising they're doing on Twitter already, right?
Mhm.
Like who like the audience, I don't see it.
I mean, there are decentralized networks like trying to do this. Like Mastodon is trying to do it.
Mhm.
Matrix is another one where it's
They
like,
allow you to be
you know,
private though.
yeah. But and it's also, I mean, it's a but basically kind of like a torrent based like system where it's like decentralized
Mhm.
seeking, like kind of like how Bitcoin like is, it kind of spreads across the internet, and everything is kind of you can save messages without having a central server, which is kind of the idea. I think like, I don't know. I just feel like there could be like a way for public officials that want to make sure that they're not getting censored. That it would be
They're not
it would
getting
be a
censored on Twitter.
possibility for them. So but for content creators that are trying to like break in or trying to get their word out or something, that probably wouldn't be a good idea, because at the end of the day, like AI based algorithms are good for discovery. That's why people use TikTok. That's why it's like so good versus like something like Twitch or YouTube, where you're not really pushed that hard.
Mhm.
Discoverability wise, it does help. But I don't know. I just feel like Trump's need for Truth Social isn't like, I feel like we could have that happen again, somewhere else, like by trying to regulate these big companies, and that's my fear.
Or if it's somehow made like mandatory that at some level on this platform that you're proposing, Greg, of like well, you have to use this platform, or like as in like if it actually gets to the point of like it's you're not allowed to like have a Twitter account, and like you're supposed to use this as like one of your primary communication methods. I can potentially see that as like, well, if all the actual politicians and other noteworthy figures are there, then it's like, well, the public either has to go to that platform, or it's like it's gonna turn out how it is now, of like you're gonna have like reporters like on that platform waiting to tweet out what these politicians are on the legitimate non-anonymous platform. But then I think that would obviously I don't know for sure, but I think that would establish like trust, as in like and whether it'll actually be popular or not. Like I can understand that it may very well not be popular, or like if I'm a betting person, I can probably like bet on it being not the overall popular one, but I do think it has like some utility, or rather I see potential for utility. Like if it's people that you can be almost certain that they are real people, and like it's associated like with a name and face, I do think that would establish like trust, and I think there's a certain demographic that would flock to that. Obviously, not everybody.
But you can also do the like. Okay, I'm trying to like build the case here, like subject matter experts, right? Like if we could somehow like Corey wants to talk about biochemistry, right? And we can like somehow tie his credentials to his platform, right? Well, that's pretty much LinkedIn. So there's that, right? But still, even
but now LinkedIn has a problem with like it's all AI crap.
Bots. No, I hear you.
And bots.
Yeah, I hear you. No, I hear you. But still, like we're mostly like where you're at, and they've kind of like introduced the AI slap themselves, but whatever, it's fine. In any case, but like, so we're creating a separate platform, and we're linking his public life there, right? And it's somehow verified. Okay. So I can come to LinkedIn to know that this is what Corey believes. He's putting his face out there, like, and for a list of other like subject matter experts. But even then, right? Like, lots of grifters, like also put their name out there, right? And the reason they get people to follow them is just to say whatever they're going to say confidently, right? So if you have no shame like and a desire for money, then you could go on that platform that verified, right? And they make claims that are unsubstantiated. And what's going to happen? I guess Corey, right? If it's a claim about biochemistry, Corey can respond to that, and then you can have it back and forth. And then we've created Twitter of only our names attached to it, right? Like, and then people are going to for the users that are there, right? The ones that believe Corey will back him up, right? And the ones that believe the grifter, which can probably be many more people, are going to back him up. We've like recreated the problem with no anonymity, sure, but like grifters will also like confidently with their whole chest out. Go ahead.
It's not going to be problem free, and I agree that in some of the utility of original Twitter was like the actual verified check mark. Like that's the fact that that's worthless now. I think has resulted in like now that you pay for it, okay, and anybody can pay for it. Like I think that has decreased the utility of Twitter. So I mean, I take your point, but I think that what you just outlined was like one of the values of Twitter, and that's why like at one point it like was a more
Twitter good back then though?
I definitely think it's fair to say that it was more trusted back then than it is today. I think like, that is almost certainly.
I hear you, but like lots of things have happened, right? Like it's also. Yeah, I mean, like, there's a lot of more white supremacists on there, right? They had like a trust and safety council that was like actively like tossing. It was the actual censorship that made it more trustworthy, right? Because and
now
more
the white
useful because go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, but now the white supremacist like say, some random name with like 20 letters and a guy with sunglasses on, as opposed to like, I want to know now who you are. If you want to
But
be a white
even
supremacist,
if you do, but like I mean, the point is that like what made it usable for people is that like a lot of bad actors were tossed off. When Elon Musk land, right? As those bad actors get to stay, right? And I mean, yeah. So like, I don't know. Like, I'm just like, I'm struggling to find the utility here. That like, if you want the fights, right? If you want like, people making claims, right? And some people with their names out, some people aren't, but like that exists on Twitter. Like it just all exists already on Twitter. And there's, especially with the network effects, there's no reason for a shift there unless Twitter collapses altogether. But even then, if it does, like let's say for some reason Twitter just got deleted tomorrow, right? They go to Blue Sky. They would go to Blue Sky. That's what will happen.
But why would you, as a Democrat, why would you want to support Twitter or X? Now that Elon's
I
taking it
don't.
over.
That's why I don't use it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, so there's like a huge impetus. So now that's the problem, right? Now as a Democrat, now you're trying to like, okay, now we're really invested into Blue Sky. Now we're like really invested into this thing, and it's just like we're really putting in our hands at the our messaging, which is really important, and making sure everything is right into the hands of another private corporation that doesn't have our best interests aligned.
I don't think the government has my best interest either. I
No,
mean,
but
I
this would be
don't.
for again, it's like for the politicians. Like I would say it's mostly for like a politician's like way in order to kind of like press release, RSS feed, kind of like whatever it is. And it's like an open platform, you can make it open source so that other things can connect to it easier. I think that would be the kind of like the idea.
Why? Again, like I mean, you could do sure they could do it, but like the way that people are going to ingest these things are,
Mhm.
especially since now. So if you're saying now, okay, this is a product, not product, right, but service, I should say, right, a service that's mostly going to be used by politicians. All right, well, and no one else, well then regular people won't be on it. Most people don't interact with politics, period.
Yeah.
And even those that do, right, how I'm going to interface with this, I'm not going to go and troll this thing, right, for like mostly boring public service announcements, right?
Yeah.
Instead, like I'll wait for anything newsworthy to be surfaced in my YouTube algorithm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like a clarification to make sure that you're, as a politician. I don't know. We need, and especially as like, I don't know. I feel like there's the ability to like where you have your data is kind of like the ultimate question that we have in the future, and it's like where we have our data, who's allowing it to happen, and like I think that we're going to have a big struggle with that, and it just feels like having the government's own handle on its own data and its own messaging, and it like I think it's just going to be like more and more important as we go forward.
I think that if what you're concerned about is where the data is I mean like I is located, I would agree with you. I have similar concerns, right? That's why
Hmm.
like I support like a service like Mastodon, right? That's
Hmm.
good, and I hope that those take off one day. Problem is I don't have any
Yeah,
money behind it. I think what we
exactly.
should be doing is like uh there's a term for this and I'm going to screw it up, but like uh data independence or data liberation. Basically, like we can set the terms of the internet. As a society, we did that, right? We did it before where we allowed these corporations to set these walled gardens, right? And force them in there and monetize that. We can do it
Mhm.
again by saying, oh, actually, you can't do that. We could say that like your data has to be able to be picked up, right? And moved
Yeah,
to any service. It has to be service agnostic, right? We can come up with some like some formats, right, for the data, and then like allow people very easily to be able to move it across these different services. And then these people would have to be forced to compete rather than through lock-in, right? They'd have to be forced to compete through services. Like I offer you the better product, not
Mhm.
that like I'm Gmail. You already have your data in here because you just created a Gmail account like when you were 12. And like there's no reason to actually change, and so I'll stay here, right? And like multiply it by billions of people, right? Instead, Google has to compete. Like I have better service than Microsoft or Yahoo or some new competitor that can rise up, because now that the data is accessible, you don't have to worry about that lock-in, right? Now like the field is open.
Yeah.
So that's I think that'd be the simpler way rather than creating this, which doesn't actually address that.
Yeah, I think that's a big like. I think that there's like a human. I think like as we become more online and our lives become more online, like we have to think about like our fundamental rights as like the First Amendment, like the First Amendment right of like being able to say something online. You know, like if the government can't intrude on speech, you know, in the federal government can't intrude on you to say something like that. You know, I feel like it's like, well, now, okay, we need to give people that right online as well. You know, I think that it kind of like we have to fundamentally rethink how our constitution is aimed, and kind of like realize that all this is happening online now, as opposed to like the public square or newspapers or something like that, which is what
Well,
it
you want an
originally
actual
kind of
digital
like looked.
public square with like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I
which
think
I think
that, I mean
has
that's
utility.
why newspapers was actually like listed in the, you know, newspapers and post offices and stuff were like so important to the Constitution. And I feel like we have to kind of like think about what were they like thinking about then. It's like, okay, well, this, how can we apply that to the internet?
Yeah, I think it has utility. I mean, I
Yeah.
understand the like uh, Prime's criticisms, which are valid, but I do
For
think
sure.
there's still some utility there of having pretty much like, yeah, a non-anonymized platform or public square.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, it's just like an idea that I've been like thinking about. So yeah, it's just one of those things. I don't know. I feel like um, I, I think it's going to be we have to like break up these companies. You know what I mean? That's a big thing for me.
Agreed.
Like trying we do. So it's
Well,
like they can't have power over our marketing over the same things that we were trying to break them up with. You know? So it's like I don't know. I feel like very very worried about that.
at the end of the day, I don't think this experiment cannot be run. As in, like, I think
Hmm.
it would take minimal like invest. It's not like $1 billion investment. It's probably like, I don't know. I imagine like maybe a couple of $1 million, like just to get it up and running. And if it fails, it fails. Then we can just no longer maintain it. But I think it's a worthy experiment to see how people how receptive people are to it, and if it actually has any sort of effect on people's trust.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, we'll see how the government propaganda machine for for the podcast keeps going. So that dude, I think that your Prime, I think your push and thinking about it getting me picked up on like CBS or something is very astute, and I'm very scared about that. So I
That's a
think
strong
you're,
Yeah.
hypothesis. Yeah.
So,
yeah,
sorry about that one.
yeah, it's
Was
all
But
it
your
that's
fault.
mentioned?
exactly.
Was
Yeah,
it?
go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say. Was it mentioned in whatever RFK's whatever announcement, like when the first episode is, or that's not
That's
released
a
yet?
good question. I have no idea. Yeah, I have no idea. It's too soon. And he always, guys, don't wear skinny ties. Okay, it's unless you're very skinny, don't wear skinny ties. He has like this thing with skinny ties, and it makes his head look like
His
a
barrel chest.
leather
Yeah.
lollipop. It looks so weird. He's like fried on his head. It looks so tan. Like it looks like there's like a tanned basketball on a lollipop. So it looks awful, guys. Do not wear
Listen, maybe
unless you're.
that's the look he's going for. We don't want to judge.
Yeah, it's not a good look. It's not a good look. So don't do it. Just wear a regular tie unless you're super skinny. Then
His
it's
wife
like then it's
presumably likes
okay.
it. All right. So
I don't. Yeah, maybe I don't know. Don't do it, guys. Don't do it.
Or
It
his
looks so weird.
other mistresses that he's almost certainly have right now.
Yeah.
But he does
He's a
have a
serial
fairly high
cheater.
profile like celebrity or like semi-celebrity wife, I believe.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, he's an actress. She's an actress.
Yeah.
Cheryl, what's her face? Um, but I mean, like he's got mistresses. Like he's a known cheater. He's fine up with that. He for some reason, oh my god, Olivia Nuzzi, the writer, was into him. I mean, she likes older guys. That's clear. That's her pattern. She's very much into the geriatric crew.
I don't know who this person is.
Was a prolific writer, like a political writer, like a reporter. And you could just look it up, Olivia, right, and then Nuzzi, Nuzzi, and yeah, she basically did like an interview, like a piece on RFK, and then like at the time, like she like fell for his charm. What of that exists, right? And she started like an affair with him, but it was like, as far as we know, there wasn't no fluids were exchanged. It was like an emotional
One
affair.
way to put it.
Okay.
There's no good way. There's no good way talking about like RFK and like sex. I'm sorry, right?
True.
But no, it's worse because a lot of words were exchanged, right? And we got those words. Like we had, I forget how we got our hands on that. Maybe because her ex-husband now published a lot of stuff. So I'm guessing it came from him. But like his like poetic words that people have been doing, we're doing readings of those things in in RFK's voice.
Oh my
Like,
gosh!
I don't know.
Oh no!
I don't know how that like serenades. I don't know how that like moistens a woman. Hearing those words coming out of like a fucking gravel truck. Like, I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. The women, I'm sorry. The women, I apologize in advance. I don't know. I just don't know. Who does it work for?
Something like that. Oh man, I don't. Yeah, he's so great. The women that are into RFK is very weird. They're the weird ones for sure. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know. It is what it is. But
Power.
I just briefly perused this person's Wikipedia. Apparently, they have written so they appear to be around like 33 years of age, and they've already like written a memoir. Like I don't know what kind of memoir you're writing at 33, but I guess to their own.
I think that it included RK. That's what people like. She was kind of because she got fired from her outfit. I forget she was working for the New Yorker or Washington Post or something like that. I don't know. One of the big name titles.
There's
right?
Vanity Fair, the New York Magazine.
Yeah. And she got tossed after that. After this all came out, I think her ex-husband was the one who leaked it or something. And like she wanted money afterwards, right? She was trying to get some cash, and this was like the easy play because people were curious, morbidly curious as to what the hell happened here.
This is there's a bizarre little phrase in her Wikipedia page. So, in 2010, Nuzzi or whatever however you pronounce that, as whatever a nickname, Livy, also reportedly Kennedy's later nickname for her. Released a song titled, quote, Jailbait as part of an attempt to launch a music career.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God.
That happened. Yeah. The Jailbait song. Yeah. Nuzzi likes older men, and she has for a very long time. And something, and guys, in case you guys don't remember, right? Here's something, a blast from the past, right? Nuzzi came before. So when I first like because I had seen Nuzzi like on mainstream news, right? And like, whatever, right? But when she like really came to the forefront for me, right? Where like I solidified like my image of this woman was during the Anthony Weiner saga. She was a part of that. Anthony Weiner like took a run at her. Like meaning that like trying to like date her.
The Weiner mayoral campaign.
Yeah, there was a big scandal within the thing, and she apparently rebuffed his advances. I'm not actually sure about that. Like, because that was a long time ago, and that was way before we understood the other things about Olivia and her proclivities, right? So I don't know if she really did. I don't know how like unwanted those advances were, right? We
Yeah.
couldn't keep it in his pants. I'm trying not to make the jokes, okay? But like, he couldn't keep it in his pants. So like he was doing that constantly to lots of women, right? And no, I mean, Olivia's a beautiful person, so like it makes sense he took a run at her, but like it just that just seems like a coincidence. You mean another older man in power also attached to this person, also like there's other beautiful reporters. There's a ton of them, right? Why Olivia in particular? Like there's a ton of like hot reporters. Like if you're a woman, unfortunately, right? Like you have to be hot to be a reporter. That's unfortunate, right? Men can be schlubs. But for female reporters, there's a lot of them. Yet specifically, it's Olivia Nuzzi who was attached to that. I think there's a lot more to that story than we know. I really do. I really
All
do.
right.
I'm just saying.
And also, according to her Wikipedia, she dated Keith Olbermann when she was 18 and he was 52.
Exciting. Oh
That
my gosh. That's
sounds
weird.
believable. She likes older men. I'm not to tell you.
Oh man. All right. Well, okay, so well, back to the Maha, that stuff, the crazy stuff that's happened. Dude,
You don't want to talk about more about RFK's sex life? You don't want to make that the whole panel? Okay, that's
I know,
fine.
yeah.
Whatever.
It's making
Okay,
me
bury the
leathery
lead
like
there.
his face.
Okay, sure.
Well, the crazy things happened yesterday with the basically the top CDC official personally getting involved with the which is very weird. The top CDC official basically coming in at the last second and trying to stop the CDC from actually publishing a report, which is like for a report to get that far into the reporting pipeline, and then for the head of the agencies, the director, to come in. It's just very odd. It's just very odd. It's basically from the New York Times. The acting head of the CDC and delayed the publication of a research report showing that the COVID vaccine significantly reduced the likelihood of hospitalizations and emergency visits last winter. So, if you're not aware, it's Bhattacharya, who's the acting director right now, and he is the one of the people that made the Great Barrington Declaration, which was basically saying how we don't need to have vaccinations for COVID, that we can just let natural immunity kind of rip through the population, and we don't need to like worry about it at all. So he himself was a huge skeptic of the COVID vaccine, and that was when that's when the vaccine gave you a 10 times more likely chance of surviving with a serious COVID infection with the alpha variant. So the guy, even when you were 10 times more likely to survive in the hospital, the guy still wasn't a fan. But what he's basically did was he stopped the report from coming out, and the report showed that it basically gave you a 50% decrease in the chance of going to the ER and a 50% chance of dying from complications. Let me just like read it word for word. Quote: "It found that the vaccination rate, the report that he stopped, it found that the vaccination cut the likelihood of emergency visits of COVID by 50% and of hospitalizations by 55%, according to a summary of the study viewed by the New York Times." So it's just so heavy-handed, so political. It's pretty. I don't know. It's wild, man.
Yeah, and it's all coming from, at least according to the article, coming from the angle like, Jay Bhattacharya has issues with the methodology, which I'm curious what actually is going to, what the criticism is going to be. But even then, like, unless it's some like egregious methodology, I think the evidence is like the evidence speaks for itself. I don't know how you can spin it, or what angle he's going to spin to show like, oh, it's actually not effective. And he seems to be pushing for like, unless it's like this specifically designed like randomized controlled trial, it's just like you can't trust any of the other data, which is like,
Especially it's the exact same. It's the exact same methodology that they've been using, for this entire like thing. I mean, that's what's wild to me.
And also Jay Bhattacharya, he's essentially just he's an economics person who happens to have a medical degree. Like he did go to medical school, but from what I can tell, he has never practiced actual medicine. He has his PhD in economics, and his research that he did his PhD in was largely just in health economics. And so it's like, well, yeah, I don't know why anybody takes this person seriously.
Oh my gosh, yeah, you're right. What in the world? Yeah, he's a health economist and then trained as a physician. What? Yeah, he's a Stanford.
Like
What
he is
in the world?
he went to school, he's educated, but like, and he did go to medical school, but from what I can tell, I don't think he did any sort of like residency.
No, health economics. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
He's a professor of medicine, economics, and health research. Oh my gosh, that is crazy, man.
But this is like, one of the top, NIH like officials, and like as of now seems to be like running the CDC.
No, he's at MD. That's crazy. That is wild. I'm so no. He doesn't have his he has his MD and PhD in economics. Yeah, PhD in economics. That's wild, man. Man, it's so it's just so political how they really they're just so political, man. They are so heavy-handed and they're so like just nakedly just doing whatever they can to tip the scales. And it's just like it just blows my mind, and it's crazy because I was just thinking about this a couple days ago. Someone asked me like what was the current efficacy of the COVID vaccine. I didn't know, and then to just have this happen, I'm like, wait, what? Like, blows my mind, man.
Yeah, no, like the data are like super, as far as I can, like I've been tracking the data, like the data is like super robust. Now, to be fair, my world expert in analyzing this type of data, no, but I do trust like virtually every other doctor that's publishing these like studies. Like we have study after study after study. I don't know like how he's going to call into question like this mountain of evidence and just say, well, no, we can't trust it. Just take my word for it that the vaccines aren't effective.
Is he proposing any methodological improvements? Like, if he's saying, oh, I have a problem with methodology, is he saying, oh, because of this, and this is how, like, if you change that, and this will all make sense?
Dude, that's a great question. Exactly, dude. No, he's not.
Other than
yes,
like,
exactly right, dude.
Unless it's like a randomized controlled trial where you're testing a vaccine against a placebo, and definitely like not every single vaccine is studied that way. Okay, there's sometimes ethical implications of like, do you withhold an actual valid treatment in a study? But there are reasons why, that doesn't always happen. But he's essentially setting the bar so high that it's essentially impossible to overcome that bar. And unless you pass it in his eyes, he's never going to trust the data. But it's like, but in his world, like smoking would still be considered safe. We do not have randomized controlled trials demonstrating, a cigarette versus placebo cigarette. Okay, you can't run that. Okay, and does that mean that we can never try psychedelics? It is almost impossible to generate a placebo comparing a psychedelic. Everyone knows whether they're taking a psychedelic or not.
Or they're high or not. Yeah.
This is like a known issue. Okay, can we not study any cannabis research? Okay, it's like this is a known issue. And if you're just going to set that bar, then throw out psychedelics, throw out cannabis. It's like you can't always run randomized controlled trials. What do you do? What do you do when you have such a small patient populations? Rare diseases exist. Like there are rare diseases that you have like 100 patients around the world. You're going to run a full randomized controlled trial in that patient population? Like impossible. I don't know how. Like I wish it were more common to like revoke degrees. Like, I think this person's medical degree should like be like
I 100% agree, dude. We should take his license away for sure, man. Like it's dangerous. These guys are dangerous, man. Yeah, in Prime, your whole thing, like that was such a great question, man, and it's exactly right. Like, okay, so then what do we do now? Like, why aren't they doing any studies that actually live up to their hype? Like that's what's so disingenuous when they have all the power, they have all the capabilities of doing these studies, in order for the vaccine scheduling, all that stuff. Like they have that capability, but they don't do it. Why? Like think about that. Like they have every capability. Why aren't they? If I mean, RFK also thinks that more people lost their life from the vaccine than COVID too. So it's like, why wouldn't he just ban it? If it's that dangerous, then why wouldn't they just ban it? And it's like, well, obviously he knows that he's lying, right? He knows that he's lying, but the RFK's followers like don't think that. They don't know that. And they're the last people to know, man. It's really wild.
And to your point, like you said, they have the resources to carry out these studies, and like as we're probably going to cover later on, it's like they seem to want to actually run the studies, assessing like microplastics and all that stuff. So well, why not devote some amount of money to like if this is the standard of evidence that you require, like why not run that study? But I think there's reasons why. It's like I think they know that if they actually take a look at it, they know that the vaccines are going to pass the test.
Yeah.
And the information will come up, but that's why they're not going
exactly. There's no they know that it's just there's no way. That's exactly right, dude. There's the test is pretty obvious.
I have more confidence that they'll probably run some actual like randomized control trials on like some random peptides that they want to prove or whatnot, as opposed to like the vaccines.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's so infuriating how it's like how biased they are, and it's like how like what would be like what would we how could we independently assess this? Like how it sucks to like but for basically this is a big problem with the BLS numbers right now, the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Basically, Trump has been cooking the books for all the economic data, and what's happening is a lot of the companies are doing their own analysis. They're doing their Morgan Stanley and all these like investment banks are like having to like put out their own independent analysis to like see like are these trustworthy? Because like, dude, they basically in 2025, all the job numbers that the BLS was putting out were all fake. They had to reassess them all at the end of the year and basically take the million jobs that they said that they made. It was actually zero. They said we made 1 million jobs, and then actually, never mind. They were all we had to lower it down by 1 million. So like what is the independent BLS numbers for the CDC? Like, and there is none, like, because there's no other way that like these vaccines are being tested other than through these weekly reports that the CDC is doing. So it's like I don't know what the mechanism is here. I don't know how to get it out
Yeah,
of
that's
it.
true. And to your point, I think also, if I remember correctly, like even GDP growth was revised downwards as well. But I could be misremembering.
Well, to be clear, and I don't know about like the specific instance you're referring to, Greg. For BLS, like in normal times, like the before times, like there's always a readjustment. So like they put out an initial report that's based on like surveys, right? They have these surveys they send out to employers, and I think you're like legally required to like fill them out or something. Like actually have to do it. But anyway, they sent out these surveys, and then that's what their initial report is on. And then after that, there was like trailing indicators that they get later on, and they combine that. They do their math, and then that's when they get their the correct numbers, right? So like that's like a regular thing. But like I'm not saying that the Trump's BLS is trustworthy because I don't think they are. But like the fact that it was readjusted down doesn't necessarily mean that like that's a sign, because literally all the time, every month, there's a readjustment. Sometimes it goes up, right? But sometimes it goes down. It's always a readjustment.
Yeah, it's specifically like because of the inflation that the inflation and the job numbers that are like to have like such a big correction at the end of the year where they basically said like every single like the quarterly report is wrong. Like I don't think
Mm.
that's ever happened, but like but yeah, it just goes to show like the importance of having I don't know, man. Like it blows my mind like how like we literally have the studies. Like how do you, other than like open data, and just completely making everything open across the entire time? Um, y- you know, I but I don't know. I don't know what the mechanism is here. It's scary. It's really sad.
No, I agree with you. It's a difficult problem to solve. Um, but going back to well, what I was saying of like how it was more common to like have degrees revoked. Um, but yeah, like I don't know. I'm curious how I don't know people at Stanford like feel, or like people that are higher up in Stanford. Like do you feel good knowing that this person's like out there, like pretty much like in my mind, sort of like tainting the reputation of Stanford, type of thing. But then
Oh
like
yeah,
uh, but then I would like to think like uh, Stanford has an interest of like okay like yeah revoking the degree of like you're actually not going to uphold any sort of like principles.
They would have to revoke a lot of degrees. There's a lot of frauds that come out of
No, I
like
agree.
with
Like I'd be
Stanford,
on board
UC
with revoking
Berkeley.
Robert Malone's, but it's like, yeah, how can you go to this like because like Stanford is considered a pretty prestigious university.
hmm
Like I guess technically not part of the Ivy League, but I think it's like always up there in like the rankings, and it's like a highly coveted educational institution in the United States. And it's technically seen, generally speaking, as like a mark of you went to a really like prestigious school. But then like to me like having this person out there like, and obviously I know that this is not for everybody, but to me that just like uh, yeah downgrades the reputation of Stanford in my mind.
for sure. Yeah, I mean, but California has a personal. I mean, the board of like the medical board that they pass in order to say that they're like board certified. That would be like the impetus in order to actually
Oh, I'm not even
push
talking
back.
about like even the medical stuff. Obviously, I'm in favor of like that being revoked and
Mhm.
to it, but I'm talking about like even just like it should be more common also just like revoke a PhD. Of, like clearly something has gone wrong with your PhD here, or it's like,
I don't know. Can that even be done? That'd be funny. I
yeah,
don't
I
know.
don't know, but like I think
Yeah.
if it can't be done, like we steps should be taken to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or it's like yeah, Stanford like releases something like we no longer recognize that this person like has the credentials or whatnot.
Dude, yeah, that was my big thing after the pandemic, and it still is. Like, how do we stop these people from practicing medicine? Or like we as a society have bestowed these people in these positions of power to have these medical boards give them the ability to make a decision on people's lives, and obviously they're not. There's a lot of physicians right now that still are like not recommending to get like the COVID vaccine and stuff, and it's just like it's just dangerous. It's just it's so wrong, man.
But I know it could potentially like be weaponized. Like if there's enough credentialed people that are anti-science at Stanford, they could start revoking, the actual scientist PhDs, right? Obviously,
I
I'm
would be
banking on
more
that not happening, but
I'd be more concerned with like political dissidents having their um, degrees revoked. That's the thing I would
Mhm.
be worried about. Like, and again, like I can bring it back to Israel Palestine for a second. Like, I mean, if the like NYU, for instance, is very Zionist friendly, and NYU in Columbia, both very Zionist friendly. If this was the power that they had, like there were a lot of their graduates who had a big issue with them, right? If you already had it, have the degree, you've like put in, you put in the work, and more to the point, you put in the money, right? You honestly got your degree, but now they can hold this over you. That if you say something that's at the moment politically out of bounds, that they can take this away from you. Like, I think it'd be a big problem. Yeah, I can't say I'd be for this. I mean, like, if the degree was gotten honestly, well, then they should be able to keep the degree, right? Like, we can't control what people do afterwards. And trying to control it, I think, will only empower the worst of us.
Yeah, that's a fair criticism, and like for sure, there's like drawbacks on how things and ways that this can go wrong. But like, yeah, but just as you sort of alluded to, um, like, nah, it's pretty clear, at least to me, like not everyone gets their degree like legitimately. Like there are people that are just like,
Yeah.
it's not literally like them paying they receive the degree, but there's some level of that like occurring. Of like if you know the right people, and you have a certain amount of money. I mean, we also seen this happen just like in
And Stanford.
yeah.
Stanford didn't care too much about its reputation when it had that whole pay for play scandal a few years back.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna bring up. Like those
Yeah.
celebrities that were like pretty much essentially like paying to get their child like in these schools, right?
Mhm.
And it's like I would like to think there's a way like if someone is actually in some sense like paid the way to that level, I would hope there would be a way to like take that
But
back.
even then, like that's those. The problem with those celebrities was actually they were just too poor, right? They have more money than I do, and but it sounds like Dr. Greg does. Sorry, friend. But like what like they did is what rich people have been doing this entire time, right? Like,
Mhm.
how did Donald Trump get into UPenn and the prestigious Wharton School, right? Yeah, his daddy got him in, right? Like buy them a building, right? That's billionaire stuff. Like buy them a building, and then yeah, your
Yeah,
kid gets in. That's the way it's
it's
always
true.
been. Like, they literally the only thing that they had to like go through this like seedy side door, only because they don't have enough money. They don't have billionaire money to play around with, because they'll happily let you in. These people, they don't care about any of that. They don't care about these like this idea of their image, right? That'll survive, right? Like freaking Hollywood does it for them, right? Like Hollywood, like, puts forth like, oh, this genius, you came from Stanford, right? The media puts forth like how all these people come out of the Ivy League, and it reinforces that this is a place that's to be respected, right? From TV shows to movies to songs, right, to all these things that reinforce that idea. They don't have to worry about that, right? They want the money and
Mhm.
provide that. They just got caught in the thing they've been doing literally since schools began. They've been doing this.
Yeah,
Universities.
that's fair. That's
Yeah.
fair. I just want a way to revoke Jay Bhattacharya's degrees and credentials.
Thank you, Fabian. I know. I think. I mean, dude, it
Maybe
happens
we
a
just
lot. I
pass
mean,
a law through Congress of like no one should
Just for him.
recognize just for him.
I
That
mean,
I'd be in
dude,
favor of.
all the people that are like the Nobel laureates, man. They all like it is like a weird thing, man. They just all
Yeah, there's
seem
like a
to just
Nobel
go
like
wild.
syndrome, like Carrie Mullis, the inventor of PCR, like
Hmm.
went off the rails.
Yeah, dude.
Uh, I
Yep.
can't remember if it's Watson or Crick, but I think Watson also went
Yeah.
off the rails.
They
One
went
of them, yeah,
crazy
became super
racist.
racist. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to constantly talk about like, the PCR thing because he said like something about like it could never be used in order to, in order to specifically target something, that you'd always have off target effects. And I'm like, literally, dude, I do that at 1 in a million, where we are detecting things. And it's just, and it's crazy because they're like, what, more about PCR than the inventor of PCR? And I'm like, I guess I do actually. Modern
Mm.
PCR, yeah, it would be like, saying that like Ford, the inventor of the Model T has anything to do with the modern F1 race car. It's like, yeah, well, it's completely different just because, it's completely disconnected. But the problem is that these guys just, they still hold their degrees. They still hold it.
And they're
it would
Nobel
be
Prizes. There should be a way to revoke
yeah,
Nobel
exactly.
Prizes as well and pay
Yeah,
back the
they're
money.
Nobel Prizes. Like that's serious too, man. That's like some serious credence that you kind of like lifelong get, you know. And I think like specifically, I don't know about PhDs because like if someone had a contribution to the to science, then I think that the contribution is still valid, even if they go crazy. But I love the but like honestly, I would be 100% for that with with um with medical licensing and board certification. Just like how I'm for like all the lawyers that helped Trump commit treason against the Constitution and losing their law, being disbarred. It's the same exact thing. It's like you shouldn't be able to be a practicing lawyer while you're trying to actively commit treason with the president of the United States. In the same way, you shouldn't be able to be a practicing physician if you're actively hurting like public health.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. In many instances, like there's a clear problem that I don't know how to solve. But I was going to bring up actually like so there's two interesting in my mind sort of like examples of the Nobel disease, or like I want to see these Nobel laureates go after it, because like as you just went through, Kary Mullis, he eventually like went off the rails and essentially like denying that viruses like exist. But there's another Nobel laureate that that they discovered HIV. Okay, and it's like I want to see like you have a Nobel laureate who discovered HIV, and you have Kary Mullis. Always, I know this can never happen. I think Kary Mullis also passed away. But like I would want to see these two people's Nobel laureates coexist. Like Kary Mullis saying viruses don't exist, and you have the Nobel laureate who discovered HIV. How are these two people going to like duke it out?
Yeah.
And also Jay point earlier, PCR is like well characterized. Like we know it like super well. Like how anybody like cannot how anybody thinks that since, as you said, Kary Mullis invented that he must know everything. Like we have decades now of like how PCR works. And it's like it's pretty much like in any molecular biology lab, like PCR is like a workhorse. Everyone knows how it
Yeah,
works.
dude. Yeah, everybody. It's so well studied, man. I used to do 40,000 PCR a day at the automation lab. So like, and we used to like, because
was that exciting?
well, through robots. I'm saying like through robots. I'm just saying I've probably done like I'm probably saying like I've done millions. I've probably done millions in my life.
I would have been super impressed if you had said you did it old school by just like transferring to water baths.
No, it's one of the reasons why I have an RSI injury in my right thumb.
Yeah.
Oh really? Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh sorry.
No, there's a lot of robots, but still you have to use your hands a lot, obviously. But yeah, I mean, just the idea that it's so pernicious, and misinformation is so bad, like coming from PhDs and MDs. Like the disinformation ecosystem just thrives off of it, and especially now, when you have that that title, and like let's be honest, like I'm using it myself, right, by calling myself Dr. Greg in my social media stuff, right, which like Sam Harris, for example, doesn't do. Like he has a PhD in neuroscience and he doesn't use it
from Stanford. And I think there's an argument made that I don't know, it was like a pay for play type of situation, but I think.
Really? I thought it was legit. I looked at his dissertation. I thought it was legit. Yeah,
no,
publication.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's strictly like that. But I think he was given a little bit more freedom than your typical academic.
Really? Okay, interesting. I thought he did functional MRI stuff.
No, he has published a study in scientific reports.
Yeah.
On like and it was a pretty cool study, but I would say not overly complex. But I'm not a neuroscientist.
I mean, dude, one guy like legit, Brett Weinstein, his PhD is a complete sham. like a complete sham. I've actually read the dissertation on stream because it's so short, and he has no original research himself. He actually had someone else's research given to him, and then he did like some theoretical, like,
Extrapolation.
yeah, like some figures and stuff, which is like such a joke, and like so many just it's super short, and he did it for 10 years. So he's one of those like PhD health like scape stories where it's like literally where they're like just getting you out the door. They're just like, get out of here, dude. Like you've been here for too long. So it's like it does happen, man. Like you have some true like you change labs a couple times. You have to change your subject. You have to change the dissertation a couple times. It's some health stories are really
I
sad.
was going to ask, like, if this was so bad, how did he get past? And you think, like, you literally, like, at some point, like, they just get tired of you, age out, and they're like, look,
Yeah.
man,
No, literally, they're like,
it's very
get out of here.
difficult to like fail a PhD.
Really?
Not impossible, but like if you talk to enough people and like you go through the motions enough, I'm not saying this is a good thing, but it's kind of like unless you're doing something like totally egregious, like they will like confer it on you. And
No.
you just like.
I mean, the professor wants to graduate you. The professor wants you to graduate because if they've spent all this time and resources into you, they want to be able to say that they have like a certain amount of PhDs that they've done in order to get tenure themselves. So like they have like an actual motivation in order to like actually get you going, get you out the door.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Because like, well, this is actually really interesting information for me. So I've never seriously considered getting a PhD. Like I got my master's, but like I've never seriously considered going the PhD route because f that cash, right?
Understandable.
I'm not interested.
Well, you get paid. I mean, you get paid doing STEM. You get paid doing a PhD in the United States. So it's hard. It's hard. Like a lot of like that's for like STEM. A lot of my sociology friends and stuff. I mean, they're having to like work multiple jobs and do a PhD because there's not enough funding, there's not enough classes, so and they have to like they have to live. So
although to be clear, well, at least it could be different in the United States, but you're not paid as an employee.
You're paid as a part-time, yeah. So you're basically 51% a researcher, 49% as a TA or a professor in appointment or something like that. And so you're always going to be a majority researcher. So you get paid at 49% the rate of a TA. So it's like you only get paid like, I mean, for me, I had a prestigious fellowship that got me $32,000 a year, and normally I'd be getting like $24,000 a year. So it's like you get paid, but it's not like huge.
What if you were, clearly I'm not, but like, what if you were independently wealthy, right? Like, you don't would you have to work as a TA like at all,
or like generally pretty optional?
Yeah.
Maybe some institutions will like make it mandatory as part of like sort of a pedagogy component. Like
you have to 2 or 3. Yeah, exactly. It's like 2 or 3 mandatory, and then so like for my fellowship, like if I could have done it in 5 years, then I was fine. But then my professor basically ran out of funding for me, and then I had to like my 6th year I had to do I had to teach. So yeah, that's how it works.
Okay. But so this idea of like being able to just get a PhD, like it's like it seemed to me, and I feel like I feel like my understanding of this is the way other people look at it, right? Like, hey, you got to do this difficult research, right? Novel research, and then you have to present it to a committee, right? That like says like yay or nay, but like the nay is always a possibility that like you didn't make it. Like you're telling me that like
that's not the hard part. That's gotten to the point at the very end where you're like you're gonna pass or fail. They're not gonna get you to that point unless they know that you're gonna pass. So like the big points in like a sticking point, the PhDs, that's like very that can be a sticking point. Classes are really easy because you really love the subject, and like professors we give you good grades anyway, so the classes aren't hard. It's really finding like a professor that you really like, that really kind of like gels with you. And then like I know for my first exam to try to like propose my dissertation, like I failed because I didn't put the dots together enough, and they were like, this doesn't make sense, so they failed me. And theoretically, if
Your
I failed
proposal.
again, then I would have been kicked out of it. Yeah, my proposal for
Okay.
to become, because then once you've passed your exams, then you're a PhD candidate. And before that, you're basically you could just master out with a free master's, which is how people should. I don't if I don't really propose people get a master's in the United States. I kind of say go into a PhD program and then master out after 2 years. You can get a free master's program, free master's degree that way. But
Oh, I wish you had told me that years ago. Like, I paid for mine.
there you go. Yeah,
But even then, if you're like deep into the PhD, and like as you sort of like structure it of like it's the defense that's like yay or nay, even at that point, like it's not necessarily like even it's like if it's a no, it's usually going to be like you probably need to like make some changes and you have to like redo the defense type of thing. You're generally going to be given some sort of like second chance, as opposed to like, oh, you failed and now like you're kicked out. It's usually like if you fumble at this step, you're unless it's something egregious, it's going to be like, well, you get a second try and sometimes even a third try type of thing, because it's like as Greg pointed out, there's an incentive on the supervisor for them because like they invested in you, and also sometimes they just want to like include like for grants and tenures, like I graduate these number of students or I have these current number of students in training, and also there's this other aspect of it's not. I think this is one of the awful things of academia. Like some professors just don't want to go through the bureaucracy of kicking a student out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they'll just kind of like allow them to squirm and stymie and stuff, and then you just kind of like, it's sad, man. It's sad because like there's basically there's like an unwritten agreement that like you don't have to technically publish in order to get a PhD, but like basically the professor needs publications in order to get grants, and then in order to get grants, that's how they become like a tenured professor. So that's kind of the deal. So if you're not publishing, but my thing was like 3 publications, so I needed to do 3 publications, and I got that, and then it basically as soon as my last publication was done, then he was like, you can go. So that was like the tentative agreement that we
squeeze
had
as much out of you as they can, and then
yeah
out the door.
You
yeah
had
but
you had to go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
But you had to do 3 different publications. I'm curious. Like I thought, like you had to do the one, which would be like your own research, right?
Yeah, so a PhD is a novel contribution to that field of science. So I had to do a contribution to the field of biology, microbiology, and the best way to assess that is basically, could you get this published in a journal? And a journal is seen as kind of like the statement of record to see if this is novel. And they said, okay, this is novel enough for enough to publish. So then the committee says, well, this is evidence that they have made a novel contribution to microbiology, so we cite that as our reason to graduate you. If you don't have any publications, now that becomes harder, right? So now the dissertation committee has to say like, oh, even though they didn't publish, this is still a contribution. There's a lot of things that can happen from here, that kind of stuff. So it's harder, but basically that contribution is like, one, that research mechanism is like one of many. So basically my dissertation was like nanotechnology enabled techniques for plant chloroplasts bioengineering or something like that. So it was like Arabidopsis, Chlamydomonas, all these other publications that I have, and then those was like a body of knowledge that I presented to the committee, and I'm like, this is what I did. So that's kind of how the dissertation is like the umbrella, and then the research is like the individual parts that are kind of like bringing up that umbrella.
Or well, sometimes how it's structured, and this will always depend on some institutions, but like the 3 publications is sometimes like it's structured in your PhD, like you want to specifically answer like sort of like 3 research questions. and each
Yeah.
of these 3 publications answers one of those questions, type of things. And then all 3 of those is part of the overarching dissertation type of thing.
Hmm. Yeah.
Really? Huh. Okay.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
it also may depend, like, I don't know if it was the case for you, Greg, but like, well, 3 publications for some institutions, like they expect 3 first author publications, or like, let's say it would fly with like 1 first author and 2 second author type of thing. But even then, there's a little bit of leeway of like 3. But yeah, essentially, it's an unwritten rule for most institutions. Like you have to at least publish 2 or 3 times to be
yeah.
considered a whatever good.
Yeah, it was weird. It was because of the pandemic. I was like, basically, the goal was to have 3 novel research publications. So that's like novel research findings that I had. And unfortunately, just because of the pandemic, basically, it was like I had a methods paper that I published in order to get my fellowship that I did. So that was one of the chapters, and then the second one was my review. So during during the pandemic, basically everyone was at home, so everyone was writing a review. It was actually crazy. You can actually see it on the graphs, like on the amount of reviews that are published.
Reviews and book chapters.
Yeah, so like just straight up, everyone's writing that. So that was that, and then my third was like my actual like novel contribution, which is like these pictures and stuff right here. These are all from my actual research publications. So those
cool.
those 3
All
kind
AI
of
generated, I'm sure.
yeah, exactly. But then I mean, altogether, you're right, Corey. I mean, I had my name in like I think 7 publications total. So it's like second and third author or editorials or reviews. Or, I mean, if you're in a small lab, you're kind of like constantly touching like the other projects, and then you're kind of like looking out for one another, and you're kind of putting everyone on publications and stuff like that. But so this is all to say that like someone that like Brett Weinstein that doesn't have any publications from his PhD is very abnormal. That's my main point. Like, it is very weird to have 0 publications and a PhD to come with it. And now this guy is pushing science misinformation, science, conspiracies, and he somehow is going to talk to everyone about as he's an expert in this stuff. Like Joe Rogan just this week or something was talking about how Brett Weinstein, he got a degree in evolution, so he knows what he's talking about. And it's like, bro, like, oh my, that is the worst like cited publication. It's just you couldn't dream of a worse dissertation.
Well, look at the ivory tower gatekeepers back at it once again, right?
Well, I mean, I am gonna back. Go ahead, Brian.
Brett Weinstein, I think, is a free thinker, right? He put
He's a
forth
dark
those
horse.
ideas, and you weren't actually ready for it, right? Like they
Exactly.
they right kept keeping them out, right? And usually those people are shadowy. Like, who is keeping them out? Well, Greg is keeping them out. Right, this guy, he had an idea, and he wanted to publish, right? It was a revolutionary idea, whatever it was. I'm not actually even sure, but it was a revolutionary idea, and he wanted to publish. But you guys are saying, "Oh, yes, this isn't statistically sound, right? It doesn't meet our levels of intellectual rigor, right? All ways of saying that, like, oh, I'm not part of the club. I'm thinking too far outside of the box." And there you go. Both of the Weinstein brothers have had this, because genius runs in families, right? And you would know that if you had like looked at Brett Weinstein's research, you would have figured that out. Evolution.
Yeah, no,
So
like, and this is where it's like, sometimes a difficult conversation to have. I know that you're joking, but like, that's where it's like, to the public, like, they view it as like, oh, Brett Weinstein, like, where, let's say, in Joe Rogan's mind, I imagine, like, oh, he has a degree in biology. Well, then he must know everything about biology. But there is absolutely a categorical difference between like a biologist, like someone who, let's say, is a biologist studying ecology, and I don't know, maybe like whatever, salmon mating habits or migration patterns, and like a molecular biologist that is like doing molecular biology. Like, yes, we're both like in the bucket of biology, but like the domains of knowledge is like worlds apart. Just like, I have no problem saying like an actual evolutionary biologist. I don't consider Brett Weinstein an actual evolutionary biologist. I'm pretty sure even my own evolutionary biology knowledge is more than his. But an actual full-fledged evolutionary biologists. Like their knowledge will exceed mine when it comes to evolutionary biology. But like my knowledge of molecular biology and biochemistry like is going to exceed like we're just like, even though we're both biologists, like we're in totally like separate worlds. Just like, you know, in some of my friends and family's minds, like since I'm a biologist, again, therefore I know everything about biology. So it's like they'll send me a picture saying, "Hey, identify this organism." Like I don't know. Like, I don't. I know nothing about plants. I hate plants. Plants. I hate studying plants. No offense, Greg, but like I hate
How
plant
dare you?
genetics. I think like, plants are like, you know, one of my worst nightmares when it comes to studying them and their complex genetics.
He likes eating them. All of a sudden,
I
he
do.
can identify them.
As an aspiring vegan, like that's how I take out my hatred of plants.
It's, I mean, I think like gatekeeping is like really important, like genuinely. I mean, especially like that's why like if the no academic is going to shy away from like showing their publications, showing their dissertation. That's why it's like from day one, I've always published those in my bio. They're always available. All the PDFs, like you can like my whole dissertation. It's all there. It's all available. Like I love to talk. The best thing that anyone could possibly do is like read it and have critical questions about it, because I would love to talk about it, you know? So, and it's like, it's really showing that these guys like shy away from it. Like Brett Weinstein's like his dissertation is no longer available from the university, and it's like, why wouldn't they do that? That is so wild, you know? So it's just things like that where you're like, that doesn't smell right. Like that doesn't make any sense. Like academics would like love to do that, and when you see people, I don't know, it doesn't pass the smell test. It doesn't make any sense.
No, and they were teaching biology at a university or college for like years and years.
Yes.
Right?
That was their whole thing. That Brett Weinstein's whole thing was he was a biology professor when that whole, you know, Halloween thing happened, that Halloween party with yeah, exactly. So it's like it's just, it's so crazy to me that he's gotten so far with it. And a lot of these guys just fail upwards. Like Robert Malone is another great example. Another guy, he was doing the original 1989. He didn't use lipid nanoparticles. He used liposomes in order to deliver, you know, a fluorescent protein in order into mice cells. So it's like, it's sweet. That's cool that he did that, you know, but then he failed. He got his MD, and then he failed at becoming a businessman for 20 years. And then all of a sudden, you know, comes out as like the inventor of the mRNA vaccine out of nowhere. And you're like, who is this guy? Like, what are you talking about? You know? But there's so many people that come in constantly just into my chat, into the debates, you know, constantly talking about how Robert Malone is this great, you know, incredible person of science and stuff. And you're like, he is nothing like that.
I'm gonna have to ask you about Robert, because I don't know who this person is. I'm gonna, but like before then, just like you know, because Corey reminded me of this, in terms of like domains of expertise. I love the example you gave of biology, right? Like, you know, like it's a diverse field with many subspecialties, but that's invisible to people outside, right? I've experienced this myself as a person within IT. People like me, like,
you can solve all computer problems and like build me a computer from scratch and do all my troubleshooting.
Yeah, but that part I could actually I'm actually more equipped to do. No, but the thing is that people don't know like the differences between like you know, the different specializations.
Yeah.
And so like when I was like looking for a job in IT, you know, other people were like carrying, right? Like, oh, I saw a job, I'm gonna like forward that to Prime, right? And it'd be like senior database engineer. I'm like, I don't I'm sorry, I don't necessarily do that, but I appreciate
full
it.
stack developer.
Yeah, just like do all the I'm sorry, I don't
so this is like, just so crazy. I say that, and then just like it, and then obviously my chat, someone comes up. I like how someone with an MD is a failure. So he wasn't a founding scientist of mRNA vaccines, yes or no? No. No, he wasn't. He like delivering a fluorescent protein is not a vaccine, okay? And he didn't even use lipid nanoparticles, and he didn't actually create the vaccine like template. Like in order to say that like Robert Malone is one of the founding scientists of mRNA vaccines, like why did Carrico get shunned from Penn State? Why did she get kicked out of Penn State? Because she couldn't get vaccines like mRNA vaccines working for so long. Why was she shuttered, and why did she have to go to Germany, and why did she have to like work for BioNTech and found that? Why, and all the decades of research into like making sure that the 3' UTR was actually protecting the from exonuclease activity in order to actually create a stable mRNA template. You don't even know what those words are. That you don't even know what I just said, and that was 2 decades of research in order to figure that out. So it's like it's just insanity, like the belittling of actual researchers that took decades, literally 30 years in order to develop this kind of stuff, and we get people that hear something on Joe Rogan and they belie actual scientists that actually like Kiriko, who's like legitimately an incredible scientist, but they don't know her name. They don't know who that is. They don't know who actually developed this kind of stuff. But this thing that was fed to you and in this algorithm, that's what you believe.
Well,
Makes me so mad.
How many podcasts has she been on? I mean,
exactly,
honestly,
True.
exactly.
But like, I actually, so I guess I just skipped to my question. I had more I was going to say. Like, I don't know this Robert Malone person. Could you explain like what's going on? So you're saying like they introduce like they use liposomes to
yeah it was just a different way of. So basically the idea was like, if you're like how do you get nucleotides into a cell? If you're trying to like develop something and to deliver something, how could you do it? How could you package it? How could you can't just, if you're a bacteria, there are bacteria in the world that are naturally transformant. So they basically they take up environmental DNA all the time. So that's how they create antibiotic resistance. That's how a cell dies. They pick up the plasmid and now they're resistant, or they have a heat shock protein, or they have some like new capability. But then eukaryotes are evolve, and they have their DNA not from like the environment. They have something that's very special. They have a nucleus that basically is a carrier, like a library system. So instead of like being able to just run, it's really like an open source platform. Bacteria's like genome and DNA relationship with DNA is basically like an open source platform like Linux, where you can just run anything, anytime, anywhere, any protein at any time. It's just pretty remarkable. But a nucleus and a eukaryote is very simple. Like they're shutting that down because they want to, in order to use sexual selection, in order to try to mate and specifically kind of like create a new organism that way. So it's a huge point in turning point in evolution. And that's why, like, I mean, bacteria evolved for 3 billion years, and then basically 700 million years ago we had eukaryotes evolve, and now look where we are now. So it obviously was a beneficial mutation. So but the idea is like, how do you actually like create new like and deliver this nucleotides into these cells, and specifically have like these templates like run on these operating systems, these cells, right? So it was a good question, and basically you can't just put DNA into a bunch of cells, a bunch of eukaryotic cells, and they're not going to take it up. They need to package it. So they basically put plasmid. I think it was plasmid, or no, sorry. Well, they were doing plasmid before, right? Which is like a stable structure of DNA. But that kind of has its own problem. If you're delivering DNA, basically it has an extra step in the process so that you could be blocked. The idea is that if you deliver mRNA, which is one step closer, so DNA, RNA, protein, you're one step closer, and you can actually just make your protein from that directly. So what their idea was is to package mRNA into a little, something, and a liposome is just like a vesicle kind of thing that you can wrap, some these nucleotides in, and sure enough, they got in, and in order to confirm that it was in, they had the fluorescent protein that they could view on microscopy. So they viewed it on a microscope, and that's it. But then the problem is, and this was the 30 years, literally 30 years of molecular biology that had to be like tried and tested. And honestly, like, when I first heard that they were doing mRNA like vaccines, I was like very skeptical, because I was like, RNA is very not stable. Like like it is, it is basically like really available, really it's going to be taken and chewed away instantly inside the cell. So how are you going to protect that? How are you going to protect that valuable RNA? And how are you going to be able to create multiple proteins, off of that single mRNA template, right? And basically, this is what Kiriko like got the Nobel Prize for, and why it was such a fabulous thing is basically creating a way to stabilize that template so that it's not degraded instantly. And what was the real like genius about it is that like let's say like you're trying to like land a plane, okay, and you have the runway is kind of like where the protein is made. It's called the coding sequence, and then you have something that's upstream and downstream of the airplane, okay. So like let's say like you're trying to take off on the runway, and you have a plane, and you're going across it, right? It's like you would say that like, well, the place before the runway, right, is really important, because that's where I kind of like put the plane on the runway. But after the runway, the plane's already taken off. Like, why would you need, that could be whatever it is. And that's kind of the same way with with proteins, how they're created. So you have a promoter region, which is where all this stuff binds, and that's where it kind of lands. And then you have the coding sequence, which is where the protein, like the amino acid sequence, is actually like created and put together. And then at the end, this is called the 3'. So after the coding sequence, 3' UTR, untranslated region. So this isn't translated. It's literally like, imagine like you're going on a plane, you're lifting off, and then that region right there. It's like it's not on the runway. Why would it matter? Well, they found out that, and this is the genius, they found out that like the folding, you can actually have like some secondary structures made from RNA, which is why it's so cool. It has some enzymatic abilities in and of itself. So you can actually fold the RNA back, and you can actually protect the RNA from being chewed away. So it's like you wouldn't think about it. You wouldn't think that to like look there in order to try to work on the stability. You would try to like increase the amount of planes that could land. You would increase the amount of of runways on an airport or something like that. But like no, it was actually the part on the end that's after the coding sequence. So it's like it's incredible work. It was honestly like it was really, really cool. So but that was the molecular biology research over 30 years that had to be developed.
Yeah. So, but the thing I'm asking about is like, so Malone, he does actual research. He produces actual research.
He did play a part in like the development of mRNA vaccines, but he played like a tiny part. But at the end of the day, like there were multiple contributors. But
Yeah.
like he did like play a role, but definitely not like the major role or like the major breakthrough. But he was like a cog in the machine.
Yeah. He's like exactly. It's like one guy in the span of 30 years over 400 scientists. And so the idea that he is somehow like the inventor of this stuff is just so wrong. It's insane.
That is so like
and offensive.
optimistic. Yeah.
Exactly.
And-
exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. and it's him taking credit where none is due, and belying like actual researchers that were really actually doing it, that kept doing it the entire time, and like belittling them. And it's just gross, dude. Nobody says that like I am the inventor, I'm the creator of this thing. It's like, bro, even if you had the ultimate thing, right? Even if you were like, you stand on the shoulders of giants. You had a whole team with you. You had like all these things. It's so pompous. It's
Even the lead
so
scientist, you
rude.
would say, yeah.
Yeah, dude. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah. So yeah, I hadn't heard of this guy. I don't watch Joe Rogan, so I'm not exposed to grifters. But
That's good.
yeah, I mean, like you want to limit your exposure to them, just don't watch Joe Rogan. It's
Yeah.
very simple, actually. So I hadn't heard of this guy. But like, I mean, with going back to our original topic, right? Like people like this are like perfect within the podcast age, right? Like I don't have the ability, right, to do what Dr. Greg just did and like break down the science behind mRNA vaccines, right? And then understand each individual's level of contribution. Like I know the woman that he's referring to who like did the whole thing, University of Pennsylvania, and got like tossed and was like kept working on this thing for like decades.
It's incredible.
Then, yeah, her time to shine. Like it's an incredible story. But you know, like even then, like you were just saying, and I think it was very well put, as she was standing on the shoulder of a giants of a team, right? She had like a people behind her who helped get that to the finish line. But like I don't have like the ability to like break down the science and like like disaggregate who did what, right? But what you can do in the podcast age is you can point to a paper, which it sounds like there's a paper out there where Robert Malone is involved in, right? And that paper is referenced in the mRNA like big paper or whatever, right? And it's like, well, yes, my work was foundational. I mean, it is linked, right? My work is foundational to this, and I pretty much invented it. And then who is primed to know, right? Like who is primed to say no to this person? I can't.
Yeah.
I can't do that, right? And he just gets to go on a bunch of podcasts, and he gets to just repeat the lie over and over again. And then and not only does he repeat the lie, because that only there's very little utility in that. Utility is like then to tell the audience something they want to hear, right? Tell them if they're Maha, right, that raw milk like makes sense, right? Like you're a smart big boy by drinking raw milk, right? Or that like if they're skeptical of COVID in general, then uh, uh, to strengthen those fears, right? And then those people, right, they'll become your biggest cheerleaders because they validated you in a world that keeps telling you that you're an idiot, right? Rightfully. And so they'll go around and they'll find Dr. Greg, and Dr. Greg says something bad about their science daddy, and then they'll defend it. Like, well, didn't Malone? Didn't he create the mRNA vaccine? Right? That's where they do the work for him.
Exactly,
so,
dude.
yeah.
Just want to say the anti-fascist frog just popped into my chat. We're mutuals, so thank you, man. Appreciate you, legend, modern legend in the chat. Love you, man. Yeah, dude. I just it's so nefarious and like frustrating, and I just it's so. It doesn't make any sense other than like getting platformed and calling himself that, and Joe Rogan just platforming these idiots and not having actual any pushback, not having any say, and letting people just lie uncritically on his platform. And it's so dangerous and pernicious. We have to like call these people out. We have to, and it's like, dude, I don't have anything like. It's a very academic argument too. Like anyone that is academically sound or an actual scientist would see what I'm saying and be like, that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like it's just sound. It's a sound argument. But the problem is that people are so in this cult of personality that it doesn't matter. The scientific argument doesn't matter. He doesn't. He's on ASIP now. He's in the ASIP panel. He's making vaccine recommendations for the entire country, which is, by the way, he got vaccinated, guys. He actually did take the mRNA vaccine. He sits there and says how dangerous these things are, but he himself vaccinated with the exact same thing. It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, like, within the podcast age, like, you just need to be able to say something catchy and dumb it down to like the lowest common denominator, right? Whatever it is that you're pitching. And or maybe not, maybe don't even dumb it down completely. Like, start spouting a bit of science words, right? That like mystifies people, like, you know, like, Dr. Greg, if you had like, I trust your level of knowledge. Let's say you made all that crap up. I can't. I don't have the ability.
I can tell you it was all made up. No, it was all.
Yeah, I don't have the ability to fact check that. Well, certainly not on the fly, right? And so like, you spout science terms at these individuals, and again, the key part, all that is, it builds your credibility in their eyes, right?
Mhm.
The key part is to tell them something they want to hear. That's the most important thing, right? That's what gets you over the finish line, and that's what allows you to monetize the audience.
Exactly.
And so, like, the problem is, like, people of honest, you know, of honest character don't necessarily want to sell them anything. Don't necessarily aren't trying to convince them of something they already want to hear, right? And aren't necessarily pushing something that's necessarily exciting and headline grabbing, right? Like, the thing that you talked about, like mRNA is like amazing, right? But like what you just explained to the average person, like, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Boring.
instead, like, why don't you talk about the supplement that you created, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Talk about some sciencey words, right? And yeah, like, it like enhances gut health, whatever that means. It regulates your temperature, right? Like your moods or whatever. It does all these things, right?
Exactly.
Like, sell that to them.
It boosts your immune system.
Boost your immune system, even get better. Of course it does. Of course, I didn't have to say it, Corey. I was going to say it because obviously boost your.
That's
immune
a given,
system.
of course.
Of course, it's a given. Yeah. And so, yeah, like since you're not doing something that like they can actually grab onto, beyond whatever science nonsense you're saying, right? So you don't have something they can grab onto. Why do they want to listen to you? Right? If it's not a headline grabbing thing that they've created, right? Or like they're debunking, right? Like let's say there's a headline about like some, we could talk about a vaccine or just like some sort of a new medical breakthrough, right? But like it's like very scary and it's like, you know, it went viral, right? Well, Dr. Greg, are you there to talk about that? Are you there to talk about that and explain to me, right? Especially if it like scares me, right? Like, and if you're saying like, oh, you're right to be scared, and they're out to get you, well, that's really entertaining and interesting, you know. And if you're not actually going to do that, if you're going to like, well, hey, actually, like I've looked at the science, and you know, for reasons A, B, and C, right? Like, this is a non-story. Well, that's a lot less interesting, isn't it, Dr. Greg? I mean, so like, why bother?
I will debate you no matter in chat. Like this is the time of the week that we have like an erudite, well-researched conversation with actual people that know what they're talking about. I debate everyone any other night of the week. Okay, I'm so okay.
His day off. The one day off.
Yeah. So it's Prime. You're talking exactly what I try. I don't know what to do, man. I honestly don't know what the right route is, because as a science communicator, it's like, what do I say? Like, what do I say? How do I bring it in? Like with, you know, my debate with like Can't Hold It and stuff like that, you know, where how do I actually use evolutionary terms? Do I actually bring like advanced topics in, or do I just like make every analogy a Lego analogy? And it's like, and you know what I mean? It's so
Yeah.
annoying. It's so annoying. But it was actually my wife when I was telling her about this, and she was like, it's so true. But like, imagine if you had an F1 car, okay, and you were, in order to make an F1 car, and your analogy for how the F1 car worked was like a Lego like car, you know,
Mhm.
and you can do a lot with that Lego car, right? You can like move it around. You could show someone how to take a turn, like what an apex is, and all that kind of stuff. And that's fine, and that works to use those analogies until like someone is saying that F1 cars don't exist. Now it's like,
Mm.
well, wait a second. Now what do I have to do? Now people are like regulating me and saying that I can't talk about engines. I can't talk about like suspensions. I can't talk about, axles and that kind of stuff. It's like if someone is actually discrediting that F1 cars exist at all, yeah, dude, I'm going to give you all the jargon, because not only do they exist, but I'm going to show you the level of like that it actually exists, because you know what? I have that knowledge of how it works and you don't. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I feel like in order to like elevate the conversation and elevate what's happening in science communication, I can't just constantly dumb things down. Like I can't. I
Mm.
have to use jargon, and I have to explain what the jargon is. But
Mhm.
like, I am not like everyone else in a science communication thing. I have to bring my expertise. I have to. I'm not going to not bring that, you know?
But on the other end, have you considered that you're wrong, Dr. Greg?
Yeah,
What a
I could
dumb.
But
be.
like I
I
mean
could.
that in a serious way. Not that I think you're wrong,
Yeah.
but I'm saying that
About the
like
communication wise.
yeah, like in
Yeah.
response, right? So I'm on the other side, right?
Yeah.
Like COVID, what's that, right? And like so you go through a long detailed explanation. I'm like, yeah, but that's BS, right? And
Hmm.
then I sprinkle in a few sciencey wincy nonsense, right? But in the end, right, like my explanation is that simpler, especially if it's something that you already want to hear, you already want to believe, right? um in fact, actually, Dr. Greg is out to get you. In fact, he's part of the academic establishment, right? Who's
Yep.
he's financially inclined to tell you those answers.
Yeah.
And like
Big
yeah, like
pharma
hey,
shill for sure.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, like it can
Big
really
big
a bank statement
chloroplast. Big chloroplast.
prove that you're not a
Like,
farmer shill, in fact,
exactly.
right? And so
Yeah.
and then we're having a discussion about like like how you make your money, Dr. Greg, right? Like,
Mhm.
seems you got like a podcast. I feel like it's not enough to raise a family. I feel like there's probably a bit more
Mhm.
funding coming in that maybe we're unaware of. And I can just make these it's just so much easier for me to make the accusations than
Yeah.
for you to disprove them, you know?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's very pernicious in that you can't ever get away from that. It's like there's always going to be. It doesn't. There's. It's wild, man. It's wild. It is weird. Like there are people that just exist in the world that aren't like tied to like pharmaceutical companies. That like I was doing science communication, way before all these conspiracies started. And it's like, I don't know. It's just it is what it is. I don't know how to explain it. But yeah,
Uh,
people. I mean, that is the biggest. Go ahead, Corey. Sorry, I've been
no,
rambling a lot
that's okay.
here.
No, I was gonna agree. Like the deck is like stacked against you or us. Of like, which I understand. I understand your approach in terms of like you want to bring your expertise. And so
Mhm.
why are you going to use the most technical jargon ever? I'm sure almost certainly not. But I understand like the desire to use some technical jargon because like you want to at least demonstrate and like these terms for a reason. And it also does
Mhm.
take some like if you're trying to let's say actually get people to fully understand what you're saying and like you have a genuine desire to dumb it down, like that is a skill in and of itself. And I'm not even saying that I have that skill, but like
Yeah.
that, especially if you're trying to like on the fly come up with like the direct analogy to explain this complex biological concept, like that's not always feasible in my experience, like on the fly. And it's almost like sometimes you have no choice in the moment to like use the jargon. It's like I don't know how to right now come up with like the perfect analogy that will get this person to understand exactly what I'm talking about. And it's like yeah, it's the deck. All that to say is the deck is stacked against you or us.
If you're
Yeah.
appealing to their emotions, especially the entire time, like an audience emotion, rather than like taking them through the science, which is very
Mhm.
complicated, right?
Yeah.
It's not like especially it's not like a product that you can get your hands on and you can examine, right? Like you're talking about like the the chemical compounds and like cellular structures, and like reminding them of like their biology class, but only sort of, because they didn't really cover all this, right? Um like like when you're instead appealing to their emotions, especially of fear, right? Or of greed, like telling them, hey, like I have a way to get rich quick, right? And they don't want you to know this. Dr. Greg doesn't want you to know this, right? He likes you
One
for it.
was one thing.
Yeah, there's one weird trick, and they don't want you to know about that, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, like that's just so much. It's just such an easier case to make, and you got
It
someone who
is.
is like completely gullible, right? Gullless, like like fucking Joe Rogan, right? He is the perfect patsy. He's the perfect patsy
Mhm.
because he doesn't know anything, right? And can be convinced either way for most topics, back and forth, right? Except for the ones that are that involve money. Then he has an actual ideology attached to it. You know, like yeah.
Yeah, the simpling, to use maybe another sort of example of how, uh, the simpler messaging just has the advantage of, like, I have some experience as a personal trainer, and it's like, you know, uh, I have no problem saying it. I try to be transparent with, the people that, or let's say my clients or then personal training, of like, if they share with me their goals and like I assess it as like this is maybe not the most realistic goal, like I'm gonna let them know that. But then,
Mhm.
but then, like I know this happens because I've experienced it. But then the other trainer will come along saying, "Well, no, like you can get your perfect body in 90 days, not a problem. Okay, you can lose 200 pounds in 90 days. I'm
Why
like,
can't
okay,
this go? Why can't you
yeah,
do that with this guy?
and that resonates, unfortunately, like
Yeah.
me trying to offer like a nuanced and like transparent answer, like this is maybe not the most realistic goal, and maybe I'm just a bad personal trainer. I have no problem like potentially saying that, but like I'm generally pretty good at like assessing whether someone's goal is realistic or not, especially if it's like totally like, yeah, sorry, like it's not gonna happen that you're gonna get like totally shredded in like in for your trip a week from now, okay, when you have like 100 pounds to lose. It's like, I'm sorry, I can't do that for you.
That was the
But
whole pitch from like Weight Watchers and like Jenny
Mhm.
Craig, and there was another one back in the day. But like all those like diet clubs, right? This is before the current Maha movement, right? Like this is before then, right? But like those clubs, like oh my god, like and those was the Nutrislim. I'm
yes,
trying to
I
think of
remember
it
that.
now.
Everything, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Like it's easy, right? All of it is easy, and like telling them that like if you give me money, I'll make things so much easier for you. It's better than Corey. Like, all right, well, let me come up with this like diet plan for you and this workout routine that you're gonna have to stick to for 4, 5, 6, maybe more months, right? And it's gonna hurt the entire time. Right? Like, what's a better bitch?
Yeah.
What's a
Yeah.
better bitch? Yeah.
And like, yeah, it works. It works against you. Because like those, unfortunately, those grifters or predatory people, like, unfortunately exist, and they seem to be like far too common. Of like, yeah, the personal trainer that says like, I'm not sure, no, I'm not so sure that I can exactly meet your exact deadline of what you want, but I know I can potentially eventually get you there. But like the other trainer will just come along and say, yeah, no problem. Give me money, and like 60, 90 days, yeah, you're gonna get to where you want to go. I know, and like I say, go find out. I think you're gonna be wasting your money. But that sales pitch works a lot. I see it work
Mhm.
all the time.
Yeah, man. It is. I don't understand how to. Uh, it's so weird to be called a shill and that I am like paid for nefariously by these pharmaceutical companies when like these people that the Maha people look up to, that they like look to for advice, are selling products that are, shilling for and grifting for like vitamin packs and all this nonsense that it's like they have like a direct financial like conflict of interest here. They're never going to sit here and say that this detox cleanse actually doesn't do anything because they make money directly off of it. But yet like a physician that's like is talking about the benefits of vaccines that they don't even get paid directly through CVS, Rite Aid, any vaccines. Like they don't get paid directly from those companies. Like it's 5 steps removed. But yet someone getting a monthly payment for $100 a month on a detox cleanse, that's someone that's credible. And it's like this whole like everyone is corrupt kind of like mentality. It's the same thing like where now they're like getting away from MAGA, because of the Iran war and stuff. So they're like all politicians are corrupt. Everyone is taking money, but at least these guys are like upfront with it, kind of thing. And it's just like, oh my god, like it's just not that way. Like it's just it. I don't know. It's very wild how they project their own insecurities, and they see this stuff, so they just assume that everyone does it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know how to combat that. I was going to bring up so yeah, to your point, like a lot of these grifters, like as much as they criticize pharma for the profits and the profit incentives, like they all, as you said many times, they have links. I have my affiliate links in my bio. Okay, whatever, use code, whatever. But then there is a segment that are like going to the fringe, and like there's this influencer that I follow, where like their explicit sort of like whatever mission is to expose some of these grifters. But just as an example of some of the extremes that some people are willing to go through for like the natural whatever therapies and rejecting pharmaceuticals, is like this person goes into the spaces of like people are using like a urine therapy and like coffee enemas, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a really bizarre world. All that to say.
It's very weird. Let's see. Okay, so I guess I was just gonna see the last things that we were talking about. Oh yeah, the new thing on Trump health officials talking about microplastics. For the last 30 minutes here, let's see. So federal government to spend millions of dollars to develop new testing methods while EPA moves towards regulation. So this is from science.org, which is like Science Mag, which is like the premier science research publication in the world. So this is from their news desk. So under fire from the MAHA supporters for lack of action on toxic substances, the Trump administration last week announced a new research program on microplastics and plans to consider regulating those contaminants and pharmaceuticals in drinking water. The money may help alleviate key hurdles in understanding the health risks of microplastics. Those barriers include, quote, developing clear definitions, ensuring adequate lab capacity, and standardizing sampling and testing methods, end quote, according to Kimberly Wise White, Vice President of Regulatory and Science Affairs at the American Chemistry Council. And then we throw away a ton of plastic. Despite finding tiny plastic particles in the blood, brain, and other tissues, researchers have struggled to understand potential health effects. Simply identifying and counting the smallest plastic particles at the scale of nanometers remains a scientific challenge. Recently, critics have suggested some tissue studies are actually measuring contamination. So that's a tough one.
Yeah. So I think the endeavor is good. Do I like trust this administration to actually carry it out with rigor? I'm skeptical. But if they actually have a genuine interest in actually assessing, the issues with microplastics, I'm I'm in favor of it, because like it seems like, as far as I can tell, not that I've done a super deep dive, but I follow the research now decently closely. Like yeah, it seems to be very difficult to get high quality data or assess these microplastics in the environment, just because like well yeah, there's this issue of contamination, and also like what exactly is a microplastic seems to be a little bit difficult to classify, because you have like every level to like to micrometer to nanometer to like millimeter.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I guess they're going to add $144 million on external research grants over 5 years. The first phase aims to develop clinical tests to quantify the amount of microplastics in the person's tissues, and the second phase will be to investigate ways to remove tiny particles from the body. Oh my God, I don't think that that's ever going to be possible.
Yeah, I
The
think it's
EPA
gonna
is
take way more money
simultaneously.
than that.
There's no way, dude. The EPA simultaneously added microplastics to its draft list of chemical contaminants in public drinking water, which it aims to update every 5 years. I mean, I love the idea that they're like, we care about the EPA now. It's like, bro, you've done everything you can to deregulate and to gut it. Whatever. It's like, there's just no way.
You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, because maybe I'm about to say something really stupid here. But like, if you could remove like plastics on the nanometer scale, could you just like remove viruses, like filter them out as well? Like,
yeah, viruses are
am I,
essentially
am I,
on this.
is there, are they even smaller than that? Maybe am I getting
No,
my scales
you're
incorrect?
at the right right level, right size level.
Yeah, so tobacco mosaic virus is about 5 nanometers in diameter, and technically a nanoparticle is anything lower than 100 nanometers. So you're right. It's like, but it is, yeah, it's a little, it's on that scale, but like still, it could be like 20x the size.
Yeah,
So
it could also be
yeah,
larger. Yes, true.
yeah.
But
So,
like yeah, I mean, like I feel like if we've gotten that technology, well then like
That
we're
would be
gonna like take a
revolutionary,
whole
yeah.
bunch of diseases off the board. Like yeah.
yeah,
That'd be fantastic.
I agree with Corey. Like it's like one of those things where you're like, okay, in theory this isn't bad, but like I don't trust these guys, unfortunately, with like how they're gonna, you know, how they're gonna do this. I don't know. I mean, we'll have to just see. But
Mm.
it's you can't like gut EPA and leave like 25% of the scientists and then also be like, okay, yeah, we're just going to try this new thing that we don't understand, and yeah, we've never like researched systemically at this level, and then giving it to them to handle all this stuff. Like, it's just, I don't know. I mean, maybe the research grants will help, spur some environmental, microbiology like into it. That from what I've done, what I've seen, like, honestly, so the big problem with microplastics is basically where you had, you had, like, for the longest time, you had plastics that were like super super strong, and I mean, these are like petroleum based plastics that are really, yeah, they were just really really strong, basically. And then as we kind of like went into kind of like softer, thinner, like more used ubiquitously, basically you created small, like, these plastics that are easier to break down. And but you don't want a biodegradable plastic. Basically, that was kind of like what people were thinking about, is kind of like a biodegradable plastic, and then you can kind of like dissolve, and then it can like just be worked into the environment. But now we're figuring out through microplastics like that is not the way to go. But plastics are more ubiquitous now than they were before, so we kind of like have to have a meet in the middle moment. Like, from something that I was working on, like, people were actually working on embedding bacteria eating plastics inside of plastic. So like, imagine like if you had a Coke bottle with like a little bacteria spore of a bacteria that had nylonase inside of it or something, or plastic A's or something. So then once it did, start breaking down, then you'd have like that bacteria that would have that enzyme that could actually like break down that plastic right then and there. That would be like the ideal scenario, but it's hard, man. It's a very hard problem to solve.
Yeah. Would if you had that in your Coke bottles, is that a genetically modified food?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, non-genetically modified. That'd be funny. Like all organic, but not the plastic. Not the
So
pla-
I haven't heard this part. You're telling me something new here. Um, that like biodegradable like was a problem, and like by biodegradable they meant like eventually it like literally like breaks apart. That would
Yes.
actually, because I when I heard of biodegradable, I thought like rotting food, like
Hmm.
eventually, like if you leave it out in the environment, like
Compostable or something.
bacteria would degrade it, right? And then eventually it's like transformed into something else, like a biomass of
Exactly.
something else. But that's not what was happening.
Correct. Yeah, it just gets really small. It's just that's the problem, is that all these
Oh, okay.
microplastics are like biodegradable, but they just got really, really small and they were never actually kind of like ingested. Um, yeah, or broke downable, or actually like
This
Well, I
they're
mean, they are
not like
breaking down. It's just taking like 10,000 or a million
no,
years. But like,
yeah, they're being divided in half constantly, as opposed to
yeah,
like having their bonds broken
yeah.
biochemically and actually like taking those things. They're not enzymatically broken down. They're just getting smaller and smaller. That's the problem.
Um, I mean, at that part, I know, like, yeah, they're getting smaller because, like, they're just like nature is basically just like with friction, just like breaking apart
Exactly.
constantly.
Grinding.
So I
Yeah.
that part, but like the reason why I never made this connection is because when they said biodegradable, that didn't at all sound like what that meant, right? Like
I know. I know.
I'm
this
not sure
feels
the
like
term biodegradable is the most useful term, but I
maybe,
Mhm.
understand why it's used.
but this is important. Like you're like blowing my mind here. Like this was okay, this feels food pyramidy to me, right? Like it
Mm.
feels like, hey, we got to get people on board with doing a science thing, a health thing, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And we got to package it easily, so we got to come up with a term and call that biodegradable, right? And we're going to sell this to people, and it helps them think that like give them agency. Is this not even less the food pyramid? Actually, this actually feels more like the conversation about recycling, about individual recycling, right? Now, individual recycling isn't a bad thing, right? But what we were learning is that like what's actually recyclable is a lot less than you thought it was.
Yeah.
And what we can do with that is a lot less than you thought it was. And like
Exactly.
the whole endeavor, like helps distract us like from like the big polluters, right? Like they like it worked for corporations for them to put the onus on you, right? Well, you got to turn out the lights, right? Like you got to save the planet, and so like at your house, make sure you turn out the lights, right? But also, you're
Hmm.
wasting electricity, and why would you want to do that, right? And you should turn out the lights. That's fine, right? But the problem is that like the factory right next door that's pumping out like the pollutants, and that's using up like a ton of more energy that you will in your entire lifetime, right? Like that's the actual big problem. But like it shifted the focus, and so now that you're telling me this right now, and I've never heard this before. You're like honestly, you're blowing my mind, Dr. Greg. That biodegradable meant like it functionally meant that like yeah, plastics were just like falling apart, right? And we
Hmm.
were saying that's not even bio. That's not bio anything. That's not bio anything.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, and
So man,
theoretically,
yeah.
like it's small enough that like a bacteria could eat it, like with nylonase or
And then like
something.
shit it
But
out. Like they're not gonna do anything with it though.
yeah,
They're
yeah,
just gonna
there are
eat it and then
bacteria
shit
that
it out.
there
Yeah.
are bacteria that have evolved like specific ways of breaking down plastics, but like that they're not
Mhm.
everywhere. That is the
Yeah.
big problem, man. It's like how do you find them? How do you
Uh,
deploy these enzymes specifically at these places? It's tough, man. It's very tough. It's a tough
oh,
question.
And from what I understand, based off what I looked into the research, like yes, these bacteria can degrade it, but like it's on such a slow scale that like you whatever bacteria that you're going to use to like degrade that Coke bottle, like that's enough food for bacteria for like probably like tens of thousands of years, like or like a really long time.
Yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough. I mean, I don't think plastics are really. I don't see them like really going away. I mean, I think that there could be, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to find the yeah, it'd be really tough. It'd be really tough. It's so ingrained into like electronics, food waste and stuff. I think, oh man, even food waste, it sucks. Like, dude, I've devoted my life to helping the humans mitigate environmental impacts. Okay, but like, dude, the paper straws just suck. They're really bad. They just degrade constantly. So now you're using two of them for the kids. It's really bad. There was one. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I saw a company that was like trying to solve this issue, like with some special coding, at least from the promises they were making. I think it was like a CNBC video or something I saw. That maybe they have a better
A
angle on it.
special
Like,
plastic coating around the paper straw.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean there was one that said like basically there was like the non-plastic but like environmental straw that was at Starbucks, when I was just with the kids, and so I put it in, and it was like, and a bunch of them like basically when they were made, when the wrapper, the paper wrapper was run around, the heat from the pressing like made a bunch of them, like the straws like closed on one of the ends. So I was like 25% of the straws were like completely non-usable because of that. And you're like, oh my gosh, there's just so much waste now. There's just like so much paper waste, even if it's bad. Like that's not bad. That's not good either, So yeah, it's
like,
tough, man.
I'm sorry, man. I'm not over this. It wasn't biodegradable. It's like mechanically degradable, right? Like through
Yeah,
mechanical
there you go. Yeah,
forces.
that's a good way of thinking about it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just basically it just creates it small enough so that you can't see it, and then now it's gone,
Oh,
and
no,
then
it's gone. Oh, Dr. Greg. Well, there you go. I mean, like, if I can't
now it's
see it,
gone.
it's not a
Now it's
problem,
gone. Now
right?
it's just in your salmon.
Just like you've been pushing this whole like COVID nonsense. Hey, I don't see COVID either, Dr. Greg.
There you go. I know.
And so like I don't like what is happening?
Open
I'm
your
sorry, Dr. Greg.
eyes,
Like you're
man.
blowing my
Open your
mind here.
eyes.
Like I like because growing up they talked about biodegradable, like, oh, we only use biodegradable plastics, right? I'm like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, of course I'm gonna biodegradable plastic. Why would, if I had a choice, if you gave me two products, right? You told me one was biodegradable and one wasn't, I'd be like, well, of course, like to be the responsible individual, I'll take the biodegradable product. And you're telling me that was like that
It's wrong.
that
It
like
was wrong.
got into my testicles? Like that's
Yeah.
my testicles.
Yeah.
Like I'm like
I know.
I'm like emotionally coping with what you're telling me here. It's like, what the hell? What was all this for? This was like
I
2
know,
decades
man.
of this. Okay, I'm sorry. I just
No, it's true, man. It
It's
sucks.
true.
It sucks. It's like it's a tough realization, It sucks. It sucks. Like
I mean,
it's sad.
Pretty much everything is biodegradable. It's just like the Titanic at the bottom of the ocean is biodegradable. It's just going to take a million years. Okay. So like,
yeah,
exactly.
like it's that's the issue. Because like that's why I don't think it's the most useful. I understand why it has been used historically, but it's not a useful term.
Yeah. It
now
sucks,
you
man.
tell me, Corey, the other side of my life. Like
You're right. I should have told you many years
You
ago.
should have told me when I was like
in
5,
our first
Corey.
Prime
Where
panel.
were you?
And by the way,
oh my god, it's blowing my mind. Oh my god, like it's hard for me to, okay, I gotta like deal with this, like I gotta like sit with this
but I mean,
idea.
this is something that is like pretty much this term is used like for this greenwashing like aspect, like ooh
Yeah.
say it's biodegradable. It's like, hey, you're good to go.
That's it. That's all you need to say. Well, now we know what the reverie is going to be about. So this week.
Crazy.
Let's say your entire life was a lie.
Like what? I don't know if the audience feels the same way as I do. Maybe like maybe they're having a better time with this than I am. But like it's just but the problem is that like, and this is a larger issue. It's a larger issue with like science communication, right? Like we get these messages and what we're talking about right here like grifters thrive off of this
Yeah,
because
exactly.
this is a message that was pushed to you within your school, right? From the people who were supposed to be trustworthy, right? It was pushed you through commercials, through like big plastic or whatever. Like I don't know, right? But like and through government messages, PSAs about like biodegradable plastic. Like this was a whole society like was trying to convince you that this was the thing, right? This is going to solve the problem. But then
Yep.
that's not true, and then it created like this other massive issue that we're dealing with now, right? And then now those same people who came and gave you those messages, right? Those same credible individuals from the same universities are now telling you, "Oh, well, yeah, sorry, it's in your testicles now, right? Like whatever,
Yeah.
like a grifter sees that. Like I would be using the story. This is what I would be doing. I'd be like, "Hey, did you know? Did you know this whole thing about biodegradable? That was all BS, and that caused this issue." Right, but like if that's a true thing that people can actually look up, right? I haven't looked this up, but like I'll take your word for it, Dr. Greg. But like if that's a true thing, well then it's like yes, it's a very easy to like sell to say that well you can't trust those people. They didn't know what they were talking about. How many honest science communicators said biodegradable is the way to go, right? And then here we are, right? So then that gives now I have something to sell you. Like, okay, well now I have an answer. Now my answer is like, no, you can trust me. And it's simple and easy for you to understand, right? Link in the description. Like, like use my affiliate code for something that you actually can trust. But like this is like
Yeah,
perfect.
exactly.
Fate.
Yeah, exactly. Or a detox for the microplastic, biodegradable stuff.
I saw
You know,
it.
that's what they do. Like that's what they do. Here's some genetically modified bacteria lysate, where it is these are like bacteria that have that evolved the nyelinase, and if you take this, you know, then you're going to be, you know, for $100 a month that you can find microplastics in your body, and it's so simple, dude. I mean, it's like the grift is this so easy, you know, and that is the that's how it's so frustrating because it's just like, bro, it's sad. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, you know, Brian.
yeah, exactly. It's weak, bad plastics, cheap plastics that were really made like super thin, and but the plastics are so ubiquitous now that it's kind of probably inevitable that it was, you know, that it was going to happen. And I mean, I mean, there is a lot of like, you know, plastic waste that is just outside of what we're talking about too. It's just there's just a lot of waste everywhere, and there is like some nice basically the large majority of the plastic waste in the oceans comes from a small amount of sources. So if we actually create like waste collection streams and ways of in order to deal with their waste, you know, from these places, then you know the oceans would like be significantly cleaner. But
Do you
yeah.
know how much like this is like you know how much plastic that like in waste in general that we just like ship off to like the third world countries? Like that's how we deal with
Mhm.
it. Like we literally
Yeah.
just like put them on barges and we send them across the Pacific, right?
Yeah.
Like there was that big incident that happened. I think this was during the Biden administration, but maybe it was the first Trump administration. I could be wrong. But like where it was like Malaysia or the Philippines or one of those countries, right? That was like, yeah, we're not taking your trash. China at some point said it too, right? Like we're not actually not going to take your trash. And it's like a big
Mhm.
issue because like when like they've been giving us the impression that they are like taking care of the trash. Like this is a thing that we like figured out, right? Or that we recycled them when we're not recycling them, and then we just put them on the barge and we just send them out. And like you know, like eventually these countries like well, we don't really want to be like the trash heap of like the Western powers, you know, like
Yeah,
a
no,
very
it's true.
reasonable idea, right? Like having literally like our waste poisoning. There's like we just like exported the poison somewhere else. That's what we
Yeah.
just did.
We do that
And
with
yeah,
plastic trash. We do that with physical trash. We do that with CO2 emissions. We do that with methane emissions. We do that with like so many things, man. It's like it's a huge part of like the UN or like all these island and you know like basically places that live right near the ocean level, and they're trying, like, pleading with people to take this seriously, and it's very sad, man. It's we're talking about like billion, like a lot of people. Like I don't know what the exact number, but it's a lot. I wish
Man,
more
that's
people
been
that cared.
depressing.
Yeah.
See,
It is
now
sad.
we would have had a much nicer and funner time if we kept talking about Arthur K. Jr.'s sex life, right? And we had a great conversation going on there.
I could pull up the Wikipedia page again. There was
Yeah,
you
that
go.
was the other day. It was great. It was amazing.
there was
This
a
is why
pretty decent paragraph in their personal life going through all their strings of relationships. They definitely...
all with older men. I sorry, I'm not trying to shame anyone. Like, that's fine. I think it's actually fine. Like, I think, you know, you're 18, you can make your own choices, right? And I mean, it didn't stop her from being extremely successful. Like, literally, she close to a household name. By the time she got fired, with like her level of reporting, she was like all over like mainstream news and stuff like that, right? So clearly, it didn't like inhibit her or anything. It's just that like her pattern is just starkly clear. It's just, hey, okay, right, let's go.
there you
So, no kink shaming, but it's a kink. That's what that was.
And well, it did seem to be across the political spectrum of like to Keith Olbermann, to Anthony Weiner, to RFK Jr., and I believe she supported the Trump administration, from what I could tell from the Wikipedia page. So it's like, yeah, that interesting character.
Olivia Nuzzi, again, she can make her own choices. She's got a pattern. I mean, like, I think anyone within 10 plus years, like plus or minus of her, right? I think you're out of luck. So, and maybe 20 plus years, you might be out of luck. It's okay.
But actually, like, 'cause I've never heard of this person up until now. Like, they do seem to be a pretty noteworthy person. But I'm surprised.
They're quite noteworthy.
Never...
In fact, I mean, she's been with a lot of power players, right? And that might have been helpful. And again, to be clear, not I actually want to be very clear. This I'm actually not shaming, right? Like, I'm a very big proponent of people being able to make their own decisions, especially about their love life and their personal life.
Well, you can shame her for political positions, but I understand you're not shaming her for.
Yeah, exactly, right. And just like also, I don't shame her for making choices about like her body and who she wants to like share it with, right? But I can like. I think that like the actual choices, not the type of men that she chooses, it's the person that she chose. She chose RFK, right? Like she was trying to get RFK to swap chemicals with her, swap fluids, and why? Why? That part I'm gonna make fun of because
I mean, well, it doesn't like there does seem to be a pattern where like, well, but like older and like in positions of like political or certain status. Like, I don't know if it's like, I don't know if it's necessarily the age or they just happen to be in positions of power and status.
Why can't it be both?
Yeah, no.
I mean, she's in her 30s, right? She's in her mid 30s. There are people in her mid 30s who are in positions of power, right? But that's not her choice. And again, that's okay. She can do that, right? That's fine. It's just
but they don't have the prestigious Kennedy name.
Oh, there are hotter, there are younger, hotter Kennedys out there. They are.
I've lost track of them, but
there's a clan. There's a clan. Their whole clan, right? They got the hot Kennedys out there. Hot Kennedys are available near you. And she's like the exact type of woman who like moves in those circles, right? So if she wanted a Kennedy, right? If she wants to make a run at a Kennedy, she can make a run at a Kennedy, right? Just saying. There's a reason why RFK, this decrepit ass, was the one that she. Okay, I'm done. I don't want to. All right, I won't say anything else.
No, you can bash RFK. I encourage
that. But yeah, I guess we're done.
All right, guys. Well, yeah. Do you guys have anything you want to outros for everything? Oh yeah, Prime. Can you let people know like what your reverie? Like what is it?
Oh, we do debates. Sorry, you're asking me like what the topic is for next week,
Oh no,
or
just
like
like
what are you...
on Monday. You usually shout out your channel and stuff, but why don't you let people know like a little bit more about it?
Oh, sure. That's probably a good idea. I was gonna keep it a mystery, but all right, fine. Yeah. So we do Reverie. It's a debate panel. And we get people with different political views, right? And we discuss topics. Usually, it turns out quite explosively, but it can be a lot of fun. And yeah, we have good discussions, and sometimes we actually do consensus. It's not always like just us yelling at each other. And quite a bit of times we do come to a consensus, but like we look at things from all kinds of different angles. So we love for you to join us. Yeah, there's always something new we're talking about. We never miss a Monday. So find me on Twitch, Twitter, Twitter. I mean, I'm technically on there. I mean, you'll find an
Truth
account.
Social. You can find him on Truth Social.
No, Twitch, YouTube, Kick, TikTok technically as well. Prime Kai, PrimeCayes. We'd love to have you, and you'll find our friend Corey there.
Yeah. And I have to make a small correction to Prime because Prime just marketed the Reverie as it can be fun. No, it's always fun.
It's always fun.
There
No,
you
it's
go.
always fun. It's true.
There you
It's
go.
actually I always should have a good time. Yeah, and the people who come through, they keep coming back because they have a really good time. So come check us out.
Exactly. And you can find me on Twitch, CoreyCam94, Twitter, X, YouTube, Instagram, Substack, TikTok. It's Corey Campbell. And yeah, always great.
Yeah, dude. I think I mean it has to be like the longest running, at least the Twitch debate panel, like in like ever. I like legitimately, it has to be like if not on the
Yeah.
entire
I believe it's like the
internet.
longest continuous running.
Yeah, probably on the entire internet.
Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
I
like
mean, I've been doing it for like going on 6 years, and we haven't missed a single Monday.
yeah.
So
Since
yeah.
Dylan's not doing his things and like dude. I think it's the number one debate panel, show in the world.
You couldn't tell so with my my numbers, my view numbers.
No,
But like you guys can increase it if you
yeah.
come
Oh,
on
I tell
through. Yeah.
dude. I mean, I tell him after you go, but I'm like, I'll tell you now. Dude, I think that again, in the history of the internet on like your yeah, I think that some of the panels are up there, man. Are going to be like on the historical internet archive, like legitimately, man.
Oh, maybe I hope so. That I mean
Yeah.
yeah. I'll take the compliment as well. So thank you for the kindness. Legitimately, thank you for the kindness.
Yeah, bro. I've for real. I mean, that's why I reached out to you. So I really respect it, and yeah, guys, you should check it out. Just I feel like good conversation, and Prime's like the debate prompts are always really good, and they're not just like these little like on TikTok people have debate prompts that are like 2 or 3 words. Like he actually really thinks about the debate prompts, and they're actually really interesting subjects. So
Yes,
yeah, check
I
them
can
out.
attest to that. And as someone who is very grateful to be a regular member on the Reverie, and I think if my memory serves me correctly, I think I'm coming up on like my 3 or 4th year anniversary of appearing there. So
Thank you, F1. Thank you for that, man. Yeah, thank you guys. Well, thank you guys for being here. I always appreciate the conversations, and yeah, I don't know if I got another one in me for the biodegradable Prime, but we'll see. Let's see.
Oh my god! I hope not. Like that's my childhood. Like oh my god, everything's a lie. Okay. Anyway, well, have a good one.
have a good one.
All
Take
right,
care,
Brian.
be
Have a
well.
good
Until
one.
next week.
Peace.
All right. Thank you, anybody that's still tuning in or that passed by. Much appreciated. 1 second. So yeah, that's it for this week. Thank you so much for anybody tuning in and sticking around. And should be back next week for obviously a bunch of stories in regards to MAGA and Maha. And until then, take care and be well.